Hello and welcome. This is Erica Glessing, and you are live on the Google Hangout for the brand new book, I'm Having It. Mm. And this book was so funny. It showed up kind of like this vision of what happens when you're just done with things the way they were. What happens when you look around at your life and you just know there's something better. Oh, and you just say, you know what? I'm having it. And people say, what does that mean? What's it? And that it can really be whatever it is that you consciously choose different and your life changes. I have some beautiful authors and I'm going to give them lots of space. We're going to go author, 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 author. And my first author is Natalie Krishna. And Natalie has a story of being in a trailer where literally the mice were so hungry they were eating each other, and then now it's like her life is so different. So Natalie, why don't you open us up? And Charlinda Bird is also joining us from South Africa, where it is 1 in the morning. She's on with us. And then Kathy Williams is in Hawaii, and she's up right after that. So don't go anywhere. And Natalie, why don't you just kind of say like what the story is that you told and kind of what people could maybe do in your same situation if they're looking around at their lives and it's time for a change.
Well, I guess I didn't even know there was an actual change, that I was changing it until I made that like demand that I'm having something different. I just looked around at my life and I was so unhappy, and it was nothing I'd ever dreamed of, but everything that I almost or wanted to dream of was just like, I thought it was too out there. It was too much. It would never happen to me. It only happens to other people. That's what I had thought. It was like, it's just what I was brought up with. So when I finally made the demand, though, that this just does not work, the way I was living, I'm just done. And from that, it was like, I just chose to do things that were going to make me feel good. I'd follow what was light. If anything felt icky, I would stop. And somehow it just like, everything just got better and better and better, and my life, it's just like, it's almost like pieces just started getting more and more beautiful around me, my house, my friends, my, like, everything. It just kind of circulated it out. And if I were to give like one piece of advice, that would be it. Follow what's light, follow what's fun for you, what feels good, and that won't turn you wrong. That will never lead you in the wrong direction. It's just, yeah, that would be, I think, my biggest thing, if I could say.
Even when you say that, my whole body goes into ease. And I think it's really interesting that you, Charlinda, and myself, all of our stories involved leaving one relationship that wasn't working and just being enough, you know? And I think sometimes, especially maybe when there's children in the picture or there's uh, family values in the picture or there's the shoulds or there's everything you've been told, how do you stick on that even when there's judgment that says you should be this or you should be that?
Well, for me, actually, I had a lot of that with my family. As much as I adore them, they were doing what they thought was right. And they thought I had this perfect family image. And when I just looked around, though, that they didn't live my day-to-day life. They were part of it maybe once a month or every 2 weeks, whatever it was, when we would talk on the phone. They would hear snippets of it. But my day-to-day life, I knew I was going to get judgment, and that was hard for me. That was really hard because I was a huge people pleaser. But when it comes to my day-to-day life, when it was basically me and my children. And that's when I looked at like what I was going to create by stepping out and doing what was good for me and for them. It didn't matter it didn't matter with the family. Eventually, it's almost like I divorced my family at the same time too as well. And I'm not saying I recommend that for everybody, but for
Right.
me that worked amazing, because now we're rebuilding a relationship that works for us. Because even when we were friends, it wasn't, or not friends, but family, there was so much of that judgment, where now we got to rebuild new. And I get to like, oh, this doesn't work for me, and I think that it's built it even stronger than before. Yeah.
I just have to show farm wife to big life. I just have to show that. I love it. And you know, the creativity in you, in your writing about the author, Natalie Krishna. Um, you know, the other question that comes up for me, you know, and I don't know why this is showing up, but I'm one of those people that's a massive sensitive. So let's just talk a little bit about sort of the self-help healing and materialism. And I'm just going to jump right into that because you just kind of have these like rings and shoes. Like you're hanging out with Kim Kardashian on stages with shoes for miles, and you have different vehicles. And I
Yeah.
think in like the self-help or there's this kind of like agreement, you know, we shall be poor, right?
Yes, and I definitely did that. I did that actually. That was my way of life. I just thought I used to always one of my prayers I used to say all the time was like, make me an instrument of peace. And where it was, I think the prayer of St. Francis, but it was always like, how can I be of service? How can I be of service? But if you look at that, how can I be of service? It's almost like you're putting yourself down to whoever else. And not putting it down, but just, I don't know how the word, I've switched it recently, and how can I be, or how can I contribute in this area? I get to still be me, and you get to still be you, but I kind of like mix that. So when I was doing the how can I be of service, or how can I, it was, for me, I almost had this vision where I would just put myself down to whatever it was you had wanted. And I mixed that up somehow. And during, yeah,
I
and
can,
during the,
I, I, I can really feel that, like, I will do for everyone else.
yeah,
Like, or
yeah,
how everyone else feels matters so much more
and
than
that,
I could possibly feel.
yeah, and that's basically how I live my life. It was for everybody else, anyone and everybody else. Financially, if anything did come in, it was always to someone else. And then I started, once I chose for me, I guess, and left the marriage, and finance, like income just started coming in like crazy. And I started all the things that I wasn't allowed to do while I was in the marriage. Like I had loved shoes before I had met him, but he was like, "No, you're on a farm now. You only need a pair of boots, and you only need a pair of flat." Yeah, I had two pairs of shoes, and he's like, "That's all you need. Everything else is just like it's stupid. You don't need it." So I got rid of it all, and I didn't even. I went without that stuff, and I didn't even think it was that important to me. And then once I left though, I'm like, oh my God, these things are so beautiful. And it started off with like $40 pairs of shoes, $50 pairs of shoes, and now they're thousands of dollars per pair of shoes. Like it got better and better. Yeah, and it just, there is like a communion with those, and they contribute to my life so much. It, yeah.
That is so fun. Well,
I,
there's one thing, you know, I love that you said follow the light, and we're going to invite Charlinda to tell her story in just a minute. So, Natalie, maybe just stay on with us for a few more minutes, and if there's one thing you could share with someone who's maybe still in that place of not being able to leave or is leaving but things aren't clicking yet, maybe just share with them if they've started to make the change and it's not all in yet, the money's not all in yet, they can't quite get the cars and the, or, you know, take care of, just kind of give us a little bit more into like what else.
the first thing I would say is do something for you. It doesn't matter what it was. For me, it started with just doing something that felt good. So it started with having a tea in a bathtub. And then it started for walks. And then my body started changing. I like just whatever it is, do something for you every day. And I started doing that. And that's when I was talking about what feels good. I started filling my life up like that. Now my life is that. From the moment I get up, I do only what feels good to the end of the day. But it all started with just those little pieces of what felt good, what felt good. And if you can, I would, yeah. And grab a book. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank
I am
you.
really excited. My next guest is Charlinda Bird. And her story is so fascinating to me. And she says, this is the chapter you might want to skip.
Yes.
Wow. So, it's great. You guys have really different energy. So I'm really enjoying you all on right now. And Kathy, you're so sweet right there in Hawaii. I love her story too. It's so good. So you just can't go anywhere. I'm sorry. You're just going to have to get yourself into this hangout and just stay it up because, oh my gosh. So Sharlinda, your story is kind of both devastating and heart-wrenching and heartwarming at the same time. I think of all the authors, I think you kind of went deeper than some. We're all deep, but you kind of really took something challenging and talked about it. So what would you like to share with us today about your work and your chapter in the book?
Well, yes, thank you so much for actually putting all of this together and having these phenomenal people contribute to something that is a choice for people to start creating something different in their lives. For me personally, I got to a point where even death was a non-option. And at a certain point, I then went, you know what, if dying is not going to be a way for me to escape out of whatever this is, then I'm going to make darn hell sure that I'm going to start living and creating my life different. And that is kind of where I started playing also with what the energy of demand is in I'm having it. So yes, that's the story in a nutshell.
One of the things I love about the work that some of us do with Access, and I was thinking about that today, is how many brilliant questions are in the book. And can you just talk a little bit? It's like we've already been on 12 minutes and we haven't asked a question. Tell me a little bit just about the power of questions and what that is versus conclusion and what that plays into the I'm having it.
Awesome. So for me, the question in pretty much everyday way of being is allowing a space of inviting different, I want to say, plays into your life, right? Because we are here and we've heard the saying that life is a stage. But what if it really is your play? And who would you like to invite onto the stage with you? What is the story you would like to tell? What is it that you'd like the people to see? And what also is it that people can write about you, your life, and your story? So what if you can look at different questions to say, all right, so I woke up today. So what grand and glorious adventures can I have, and what contribution can I be to this world, and can this world be to me?
That feels really good.
Cool.
So tell us a little bit about tell us a little bit about your teaching and kind of what kind of makes you tick.
Oh wow, it's so interesting because my journey up until where I am here now has been a very short journey, right? So in September last year was the first time that I actually attended a level 2-3 with Dane here in Rome. And it was shortly thereafter I decided, well, you know what, I kind of like the idea of becoming a certified facilitator. So I went through the journey in 3 months' time. But it was at the day before the facilitators journey start, the actual facilitators class, I found myself on the bathroom floor, bawling my eyes out. And I went through all the wrongness, what I perceived that so many people almost live through on a daily basis. I'm not good enough to do this. I have not done Reiki. I don't know about bodies. It's a good thing I know with my liveries and all of that stuff. So I went through all the wrongness of why I would not be able to be a facilitator. And when I was stripped pretty much of everything, I had the awareness that the only reason I'm actually going on this journey is to be a facilitator for me of my life and my living. So even with the classes that I teach and all the facilitation that I do, I get to see the gift in it for me. And that is kind of the invitation that yeah, is there for everyone else. Is to what if you are the facilitator of your life, and are you willing to acknowledge that you have that capacity and potency to just be, choose, and have whatever it is that you desire.
I love that. And maybe just bring that back to that before we bring Kathy on in just a minute from Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm Hawaii envy or anything. But tell us a little bit just about that moment where it felt like in your story, in your chapter, that you found sort of a core strength to really change everything. And tell us a little bit about that kind of where you just, that's it. I think you said it was 2009.
Yes, yeah. So in 2009, so I didn't have the nicest of relationships, and looking back, actually from a very, very young age, I did have a lot of abuse. But it almost culminated in this dream wedding. I mean, I got married on the 14th of February, right? So how romantic is that? So all of the abuse accumulated into this relationship. So in 2009, I just decided, no, that's it. I cannot stand the abuse anymore, because to the outside world, everything was pretty and perfect and beautiful, but nobody knew what went on behind closed doors. So in 2009, I actually hit, I think people will refer to it as the dark night of the soul. I'm still going, well, I'm still not sure what that is, but I kind of get the energy of that, where I've just decided, you know, this is it. I'm checking out. I have a beautiful young son, and I'm willing to leave him behind to just get out of this space of where I thought I didn't have any other choice, any other possibility. And yes, so from that moment, I tried to commit suicide, and I actually had my husband revive me. I know I go a lot more gritty in the chapter, and it's so interesting because this chapter is completely different than I actually initially thought it would be. And as I was typing, I said, really? Is this the information that's required? But yes, so it's grittier, it's vulnerable, and it's very raw in some instances. But at that time, as I say, as he revived me and I heard him saying, "You will never ever leave me," it's at that moment where I realized, okay, death is not an option here. And that's where that demand almost permeated throughout every single cell in my body. And with that permeation in my body, it actually then just expanded out into the universe. And that to me is the creation, right? If we're willing to just acknowledge that there is no lack, there's no worse, there's no better, there's just a space of choice, actually. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I love it. You can go get the book. You have to read these chapters. They are so phenomenal. Natalie, I'm going to bring Kathy Williams on, but maybe just give us a nice little sort of like one more thing, maybe while Charlinda was talking, like one more thing showed up that you just want to share. What could you share with us?
Oh, geez. Actually, when she was talking, the thing that really popped was being in the question, what else is possible? You never know what will show up and what it'll look like. You never know what it'll look like. Sometimes it looks like these things are, if you're going to be going through something, sometimes it looks like it's uncomfortable and horrible, and oh, I've had that this past, actually just couple weeks, just with all the classes I do, and it's so uncomfortable. But on the other end of it, it's that vulnerability, and it just opens up to just this beautiful space and this kindness. And if you guys can just stay in the question, what else is possible? And when something comes up, know that that's not like, there's going to be more. There's going to be more. And what else is possible? Even if it looks maybe not like you thought it would.
You know, and thank goodness, right? Thank goodness there's something more. And let's just, if anyone leaves with nothing else from this entire event, let's just tell everyone there is a different reality. It's not anything you can change, because just hearing you say that helps me right now. So thank you.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I wasn't going to cry. Okay. The next chapter is called Choosing Paradise. And I love this story. This is about a big change that even involved crossing an ocean. So, Kathy, you're on. Share with us your beautiful wisdom and energy and joy. And thank you so much, Arlinda, for staying up so late.
Or getting up so early.
Exactly.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Erica. My chapter is on choosing paradise and the choice to come to Maui. I hear all the time people saying, oh, it must be really great to live in Hawaii. I wish I could live there. And I really want to make it clear it's a choice, and that your choices create your life. So, I mean, and some choices are way bigger than others, right? The choice to have a child is much bigger than the choice of what you're going to eat for lunch. But like little by little, each choice we make, the compilation is what creates our life. You know, before I was a coach and an access facilitator like I am now, and a yoga therapist, I was a ballerina. And I made that commitment and that choice like when I was a little girl, little girl. And for me, it was like this dedication and commitment and yes, let's do it. I want to be Juliet, you know? So I did. I like years and years and years of force and struggle and effort. And there were like little glimmers of joy and beauty, but most of it was like this non-stop judgment of myself, and it's not good enough, and it's got to be better, and all this stuff. And then, like, ultimately, when I got to be Juliet, it was like great for an hour, you know, but the rest of the time I was miserable. And so, yeah, just the.
So on the outside, it kind of looked like you had it all. So there's this like outside view looking in of you as this kind of perfection, but inside you weren't feeling that way.
Exactly. And so that's when I was like, wait a minute, okay, I've achieved what I've really desired for like years, for so long, and now what? And so I was in this real space of like, hey, you know, what do I do here? Kind of a shock, but not really, just like a limbo sort of thing. And, you know, ultimately I came and made choices to do what I do now. But the choosing paradise, I think in one way it's a journey of myself from Connecticut to Hawaii, but in another regard, it's like our choices from wherever we are and what's not working for us into what we truly desire and what we'd like to be and do and have. And hey, you know, as a coach, I've worked with people to get them out of Hawaii. I've worked with people who don't love it here, and they're like, well, and we explore like, where would you like to be? So it's like, if you get somewhere and achieve something and you don't love it, then choose again.
Kathy, I have to tell you, I mean, okay, because, you know, a lot of this stuff that we are doing in this transformational work, people say, you know, we can't tell you how. So there's a lot of this, you know the energy. And I'm sorry, I'm not making fun of myself. It's like, there's no how. We can't tell you how. It's not what you think. Well, your chapter is a little bit different than that. And so why don't you share with us some, because, you know, there's something really practical about how you approached what you were doing, and you were very focused on it. And it was a very interesting chapter because it really showed people some really tangible, practical things they could do in their lives to shift something completely. So why don't you share with us just a little bit of that Kathy?
Okay, I really love for people to have like, how, you know? Okay, and one way is, as Charlinda and Natalie shared, asking questions. It's so huge. asking questions is the doorway to awareness and possibilities. But one of the things I did was actually list out what it is I thought I wanted. Okay, well, I want to live 5 minutes from the beach, and I want to pay this much for our rent, and I want fruit trees. I'd like to have mango and avocado and papaya and whatever. I made this huge list with my husband. We both played with it. It was really fun. And then we would kind of reflect back. Okay, 5 minutes from the beach, Yeah, that sounds good. Oh, this element? No, not so much, And ultimately here, I wanted to give you a little taste because behind me is Hawaii, so I wanted y'all to feel that. But over there to my left, a little ways, are mango trees and avocado trees and papaya trees. And so, yeah. So what I like to say is you want to water your tree, the tree of your desire, but we can't sit there and force the tree to grow either, like with our willpower or whatever. It's like, okay, now I've set the desire list. Okay, universe, show me. And again, there's the what else is possible? And universe, how about showing me something even more than my list, even greater than my list? What do you have in store? And what magic is there that I haven't even dreamed of or conceived of? So, yeah, I have like 4 or 5 exercises in the back of the chapter just to play around with. And again, the idea is to play, that expansive lightness and ease of asking and desiring instead of forcing.
Okay, well, some of our listeners are having some technical challenges, so I guess for now what we're going to do is just kind of keep creating in this space. I don't really have any tools for fixing Google, so why don't we kind of sit there in that space of we'll do a little bit of round robin until we get joined by another guest. And let's do, what is it that stops people kind of on the road to having it or changing or making a big shift? And one of the things which shows up in my head even as I ask it is people say, well, you're still hanging on to like the old or something. So what's a tool we can use towards just shifting out of the old and bringing in the new?
Wow. Okay. I can start with one. It's also a question. And what I have found that this is maybe not the easiest question for people to always hear in the beginning, but the more they play with it, it actually starts shifting and changing where it is that they choose from. And that question is something that I ask every morning for a long time, and sometimes I still do, is what if I have never, ever, 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 ever did or say anything wrong? Because people function from wrongness. The moment if they can actually ask that question, so many of the times where they have judged themselves to be wrong or concluded that what they have done was wrong, actually at those moments when they become aware of it, they also most of the time become aware of them being a catalyst for change at those times. So instead of a wrongness, go, wow, all right, so this is a choice I made, and look at the change it has created, not just in my life, but also in the lives of other people. Or me being upset at that point in time was the catalyst required for a person to choose differently.
Okay, guys, I'm going to do a little bit of troubleshooting. So, Kathy, do you want to just kind of lead Natalie and Charlinda? I'm going to try to troubleshoot on the other side.
Sure.
Thank you.
I think in my world, one of the biggest things is it's not about me. In the end, like, whatever I create is what contribution can I be to the world? What contribution can this project, this book, be to the world. And because with my training and with my old habit, I could judge everything out of existence. And I used to. You know, create stories or videos, and then I'd be like, well, that's not right about it, and that's not right, and that, yeah, and then just never post them or never put them out there. And now it's just like, you know what? The world needs our positive contribution. And so what if I say something that now I think was stupid? I mean, that was like, you know, when I was creating it, it was what was present, and it was what wanted to be created. And I'm ever evolving, and so are my projects, and we hope each project gets a little bit better or a lot better than the previous, but it's like, it's not about me. Project, what would you like to be, and what contribution can I be to the world, and maybe inspire someone who I mean, exactly the right people to come enjoy and create their life as they would like to be. So, yeah.
That is phenomenal. All right, so it seems like Natalie's also not there at the moment. Okay, cool. So it's just you and me. So, Kathy, I was wondering about Hawaii. How long have you been there, and what was the contribution that being in Hawaii has actually added to the book as well?
Oh, goodness. I've been here just about 5 years, and my chapter really is on choosing Hawaii, and the journey to come here and making it happen and real in my life. Over 10 years ago, I decided that I was going to live here in some way, shape, or form, and the story is in the book, but it's about how I made that happen, and yeah.
Thank you, everyone. I guess we're having some technical challenges, but we're going to roll because this is recording, and a lot of people are going to see this on recording. I am seeing the viewer numbers climb, so maybe it's all rolling now for some reason. Janie Smith is my next guest. I am really delighted to have Janie with me. Janie has houses in Colorado and Arizona, and her chapter is gorgeous. Actually, Janie took the picture. It's on the cover. Janie, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me? Yay!
It's so amazing on the background of I'm Having It. She really helped build this book, and I just am so joyful. Right now, to introduce her to you, she's a creatress of magnitude, and she has, the first time we talked, her bird was so chatty. Do you remember that? Oh my God. It's the most fun. She has a gift with animals. Tell us a little bit, Janie, about your chapter on I'm Having It.
Oh, cool. It's called Creating Your Life as I'm Having It. So I started like with my childhood, and I had kind of an interesting childhood, and I wanted to share the story on that because I created myself as super stuck. Like, I thought I didn't have any choice, and it just, life wasn't very fun. So the exciting thing is life is full of fun and surprises now. And I'm so sorry. Life wasn't very fun.
That's okay, Janie. Why don't you want to mute and figure it out, or what do we need?
I got it. I just shut it.
You know what happens sometimes when our collective energy is so big, like we can blow out the technology. Like, yeah. The computer is not, my computer, which has done 3 happiness telesummits, a really robust computer with a big screen, it wasn't really. And then it's like, now I'm on a laptop. It's so interesting.
Yeah, I think I blew it up today.
Awesome. So I love the fact, like, all of our energy is so big that we're just blowing out technology right and left. And let's just that space, I would love to reach out to, and let's just, Charlie just said he can't come. Let's just reach out to women in particular right now who are faced with kind of difficult challenges and choices, because the thing is, like, we're kind of told from the get-go that the only way we can be okay is if we take care of everyone else. So what is it about I'm having it that shifts that, and how, kind of give us a little bit of insight into that, Janie?
Well, for me, what it was, and I talk about this in the chapter, is stepping into, it's like an energetic space of, I'm going to have that no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of going from making a shift from, oh, I would like to have that someday, and I wish I had what she had, or I wish I had that life, or I wish my bank account looked like that, to really stepping into it and be like, I'm having that, and nothing's standing in my way. Like, whatever it is. Yeah.
Like nothing.
Pretty much nothing. No, you have a laptop. You could just close it and it's quiet. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your chapter. It's very flow, and you have so many questions. So why don't you just like play with that a little bit for us?
Okay. Let's see. So I started with like my childhood when I was at home, and a little bit about my parents.
Okay, and I can't see your whole face. There we go.
Oh, so I did grow up in a pretty religious home. What I found was interesting is that when I wrote the chapter, I didn't realize it when I wrote it. But I was telling it like as if I was in my childhood, and the points of view I had with things that were going on. And so I actually had a conversation with my dad the other day, who now I have an awesome relationship with. And it was really cool because I realized that I had created such a big shift in my life because I was able to see like where I had created limitations, and now it's just like they don't matter. Like one of the things that I did was I tried to fit in a box and shut off who I was. So when I did that, I created a lot of health issues for myself. Yeah, a lot of them. And from the time I was like 4 on, I was constantly sick all the time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I go about, I explain a little bit about that in the chapter. And it's basically like when you shut yourself off and you're not who you are, all this other stuff physically can show up. And I just found it really cool the other day when I was talking to my dad. It was like, it's okay the way I was raised. It's totally fine. And where I would like to go from here would be to create the space for others that still feel like they're stuck and trapped in that, and they're carrying all that junk through their life still, to unlock that and let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And for those of you who are listening, if you could just post for people to refresh, because our numbers of viewers keep climbing, so people are being able to see it now. So whatever was not working seems to be now working. So if you're, I can't do it because if I multitask, that I'll you guys. So I want to take that energy of that, Janie, where, we have an upbringing where, for you, I know you were kind of moved around a lot and you had to start a lot. What is it that we can do? I just have to ask this question, which has nothing to do with anything. How do we make it home in our lives when there's so much change going on? on. And I mean, we've had so much change. Like, how do we build that sense of home in our lives, even when there's so much change going on?
That's a good question. What I have found that I tend to do is I have a capacity to just create something to feel homey, like right away. And generally, I like where I'm at. So, you know, you'll find that if you're happy with who you are and where you're at, it really doesn't matter where you're at or how many times you moved, because you still take you with you wherever you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love that, Janie.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tell us, what is when we say, like, what's a generative question? Maybe to share with us, like, what is a generative question? And then Keisha will be up in just a few minutes. Hi.
So one of my favorite ones is, what energy, space, and consciousness can you and your body be to be the you truly be?
I love it. And I'm a show for all of us and everyone listening to really expand as space. So everyone just take up more room. Everyone who's listening right now, just feel yourself as big as the room you're in. And now just feel yourself as big as the state you're in. Feel yourself as big as the country you're in. And one of our authors writes a lot about how the planets can nourish us. So go ahead and feel yourself as big as, like, the entire universe. And anything that's stopping you from really having your life and defining your life and creating your life, if you're ready, be with the authors in the book today and step into a bigger havingness. And it's an expansion of your life. And I'll just tell a funny story, Janie. Last year when I was looking at Happy Publishing and I was doing some fun work with it, I was like, I have been doing about 2 to 3 books a year. And it showed me 12. And I went, excuse me? I'm like, what? And, you know, I've been writing since, 1984? So I'm like, oh my gosh, 12 books? And then it said, what if everyone who contributed in these books became best-selling authors? And how does that feel, Janie, to be stepping into being a best-selling author?
That feels like I don't have words for it. Like, it's exponentially awesome.
It's like if you walk into a room and there's a speaker and it says best-selling author, and you are too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Could we be
I had, like, permagrin on my face all day long. I'm like,
when I wrote this book, I have to tell you guys a fun story. When I wrote this book, I had written about 14 pages, and I emailed them to Jack Canfield. And I said, Jack, can you endorse happiness quotations? I seriously had 14 pages in like a doc that was saved. It wasn't even like pretty or it was just like 14, and look, each page only has like a quotation on it. And he sends back, I love it. This is Jack Canfield, Chickens and School, The Secret, and I go, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I better write the whole book.
Yes.
And it was such an interesting moment because then I also had Marcy Shimoff, who wrote Happy for No Reason, and then Joe Vitale, and I had all these other people from The Secret, and I went, wow, right? Like,
yeah.
Wow, it was like such a different energy when I started seeing my light. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was like such a shift. So thank you, Janie, for being on with us and for bearing with us through the difficulties. And my next speaker has a radio show. She is an amazing cat person too. And Keisha Clark, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and your chapter and what it is to be having it?
Wow.
Jamie, don't go anywhere because I might bring you back on.
Okay. Whoops. Wow. Thank you. This is all kinds of fun. My eyes are just like watering all over the place. Gosh. Okay. My chapter. Can you hear me? Whoops.
I can hear you. I have to go to a little bit more technical solving. So Keisha, you have to light up the stage, and I'm gonna be like you are on the radio show. I'm gonna be the producer for a moment, and
Sure.
you're gonna be the queen bee.
This is radio visually. How cool is that? Gosh, yeah. So I'm Keisha Clark, and for some of you who might be listeners of the radio show that I host on A2Zen.fm, it is Living Well, and that is the name of my business as well. Well, in this case, is spelled W-E-A-L, and the acronym for that is the willingness to embody abundant living. And so I do a lot of work with people and bodies and creating greater relationships between beings and their bodies. And how much fun can we have discovering all the ways we can have an amazing relationship with and co-create with our bodies and what else is possible there. So yeah, I was invited to participate and surprisingly got a yes for this book. And so the whole process has been amazingly, pleasantly, wonderfully, beautifully surprising. This is my first time to venture into writing in a more of a public forum. And of course, Global is pretty public. So my chapter is Me, Myself, and I Am. And I asked this book what story it desired from me, and I argued with the awareness that I had. Because, of course, I had conclusions about this. It's like, it's not necessarily a story of one instance of me getting to that point of I'm having that. This is the story of about a year's worth of my life, and it picks up right after I had a complete change of life, and it's approximately the year adventure, in as few words as I could get on the page, about the steps that progressed into me actually having it. And there were some people who were very instrumental in my having awareness around what it was. And for me, it actually turned out to be me. So it was interesting to write this story. It's like I was like, well, can't I write about like some fabulous thing I actualized in like a car or something else? And it was like the energy on this particular story just kept being really, really juicy, and the vibe was very intense. And so I set about writing it. And I really hadn't put any of this on paper until I began putting it together for this submission. And it actually turned out to be pretty cool how it all came together. And now, reading the draft and then seeing it in print, I'm actually purchasing my book bright and early in the morning because I want all of my purchases to count towards our becoming a bestseller. But I have just had this incredible experience of now the story actually talking to me. Now the story actually showing me even more, and now the energy of this book and this amazing group of people that you have brought together. It's just there's not even really a word for a way to describe it. I don't have words to describe it. How incredible and yummy and amazing the energy of this is. So.
Love it. It was funny. I have to tell you guys, I get so excited. I was on the phone this morning with an author whose book is coming out this week, and it's on vulnerability. And it was right. I think I was online with them because they were flying from Japan to Singapore. And just when they found out they were really going to be in a book, and there was something in my Kundalini that was just like, oh my gosh, right? Because for me, I'm third generation. Both my parents wrote books. Like, it was in my genetic code. Like, seriously, I came out writing. Hi, I'm 3. Can I have a pen? So I love it when a new author steps into their shoes. And Keisha, it's just so much fun to have you in the book and have you on the call with us. Maybe tell us, you've had to overcome some doubt about kind of singing and music. Do you want to share a little bit about, like, being in your gifts? Because I feel like part of having it, like, it's just kind of truly stepping into your gifts with, like, no qualms.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I was having a conversation about that earlier today. This whole process of choosing into being what you know, being all that you be, including your talents, your gifts, and your capacities, has been and can be. And I know I'm not the only one who's ever done this, so I think a lot of people might be able to relate in some way. It can be the most terrifying thing you ever do. And what, for me, has begun to really be my thing is, am I an allowance? Am I willing to be an allowance of what naturally occurs for me and what organically shows up as me and how I organically show up in the world, and still keep choosing to interact, to engage, actually, really is a better word, with the world through each individual person or through groups of people, or just being with nature, or being with the cats I work with in particular right now. And for me, I did grow up in the performing arts, and there was a very interesting expectation, or really a whole gamut of expectation around what things are supposed to look like bodies and movement. That was really and yes, hello, darling. So it was very interesting to make the transition from all of what the expectations are around performing arts and really allow the art to become a part of my life and a part of who I be. So I have a long history in the healing arts as well as the performing arts, and bringing those together is really what my work consists of.
One of the words that showed up for me when you said performing arts, one of the things I just was how many lies are told. How many lies are told? And when someone becomes a gatekeeper, say they're a producer, or say they're a floor director, or say they're the one that does the casting, how many lies come out of their mouths? And what they're looking for is a fit. Exactly. And so if 80 people don't fit it, then those 80 people leave with a lie in their head. Yeah. And so that was just shown up to me really big, and it was interesting because Kathy did dancing too, and some of the other people on this call are so talented, and yet they've had to, Rebecca Holtz is one of them, who was how much when you look in the mirror do you see a lie, does a lie show up in your head? And maybe just tell us kind of what's showing up for you as far as, what are some tools around that?
one of my, how long do we have? No. One of my favorite tools now is, most of my tools, pretty much all of my tools, in fact, are questions. They come in the form of questions. And one of my favorites that I like to use is, who does this belong to?
Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
It's just a really quick way of, am I really being me here, or am I taking on all of the other litter, the noise and the litter from everyone else's universe, and trying to make it real for me? And what I found out through my personal process, and still have daily awarenesses of, is how much we can so quickly take on, how aware we truly are of so many things going on, so many energies present in our environment and in the world, and how quickly we not only take them on, we begin to try to figure out how to get free, get clear, get something, and it's like it just snares us, you know. So yeah, I like to, when I catch myself when I'm feeling that, that's one of my go-tos. You ever have that? Yeah.
So awesome. So maybe just tell us, like, going forward, Keisha, what else is there about the shift into a life? You know, one of the things you talk about, giving yourself a class. You talk about, like, giving yourself permission to take a class. And I really want to take that on for, I don't know if there's other moms in listening, but when you're involved with raising children like I am, you start putting all of their needs really up high. So their braces and their hockey and their, you know, education and their clothing and their this and their that. And the idea of, like, I remember someone invited me to a 5-day thing, and I'm like, I 5 days without my children, like, oh, like, so maybe tell us about that, shifting into that where you were willing to, I think what you said is, like, everything. Tell us about that, because to be honest, I'm still on this side of that fence, so go for it.
Well, here's what's really funny is, like, everything, gosh, I get more of the scope of everything and what that really could mean, what that really could be every day. So for me, I did not have human babies that were in my particular scenario. I had other things that I also was having to look out, kind of be aware of, be conscious of. And there came a point that I really got really loudly in my universe how I had spent pretty much all of my life trying to live around what I perceived the requirements were from others.
Okay.
And I reached a point that it just became so undeniably clear for me that until and unless I was willing to choose for me, I was not going to be able to do anything else for anyone else to any degree of merit. And I was not going to have my life to be living from to fill up the cup, to be an inspiration, to have my battery charged, to be any of that. And I knew that if I was not willing to make that change, I was not going to be here very much longer. So it was about...
I got full chills.
Yeah.
So, and, both Keisha and I have entities that help us sometimes. So they're all around us right now, Keisha. And they want to... What I'm getting is... It's the whole thing of taking care of yourself as being selfish, and yet, if you know what you just talked about, just was this huge thing for me of being able to nourish yourself. So I don't know what questions I have other than that, but I just felt a huge, like, wow. I'm just feeling it, that's all.
Yeah. And how many of us come up with all kinds of reasons that we cannot have what we truly desire? And that was one of the most amazing things about stepping into the energy of this book and this group of people who have chosen to be a part of it, is the awareness of the resistance to really being willing to choose having it for me as first person. And that is immense in the world. And so what invitation can we be, and what invitation can this book be, and each of our stories be, for more people to get to that point that they're at least willing to choose that. Just to play with the possibility of choosing that for you, even if it's a cup of coffee in your whole day, you know, or if it shows up as a class, or if it shows up as a house, or if it shows up as a vacation you always dreamed of, you know, or a relationship you never imagined. It's like, are you willing to at least consider the possibility of what it could create if you chose it?
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Keisha. And our next guest coming up is Michelle. So I love that you mentioned the house, because Michelle has a lot of house knowledge. And I did want to tell you guys kind of a fun story as we bridge from Keisha to Michelle, who's coming up next. I'm going to tell, and I'm having a story about romance. And I'm pretty quiet about my romance, but what happened for me is I got to interview Ricky Williams in February, and he was getting ready to teach a 5-day in Milwaukee, and I did an interview with him about that, and he talked about his relationship with his wife, and I went, oh my gosh, because I'd kind of given up. I'd had a horrible marriage, it was horrible the whole time, and I was like, I'd gotten out of it, and trying to get out of it. But his abuse was like pretty rotten. So I'm like, and I remembered this one person whom I had adored in my 20s. And he literally, we found each other in February. And we are together. And he moved from Oregon to be with me. How's it getting better? And today when I said, you know what, I have a book launch, I need a lot of space, he said, okay, I'll go fix my brakes on my truck, bye. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like, I need space, bye. I was like, how does it get any better than that, really? And it was just saying yes to kind of the kindness. And sometimes I think it's really hard to accept kindness. You know, it can't, that sounds crazy, but if you've kind of had a nasty growing up, you're used to nasty. You know, that's what you're comfortable with. You're used to beatings, and you're used to being yelled at, and you're used to being screamed at, and you're used to the drama. And what if it's all different than that? And this whole time with the book, I've been saying, have I really having it enough to do the book? But Keisha reminded me I am having it in that area. And my next guest is so beautiful. Her name is Michelle Follis. I love Michelle. Michelle is joining us. I don't even remember what state you're in right now because my head's a little booby-shooby. So we've only been on for an hour and I'm all jangly. But Michelle is a author for this book, and she just spent, I think, the weekend at an expo where she was sharing the book with people. Michelle and I have also some real estate background in common. And Michelle, welcome, and tell us a little bit about your chapter and being an author. And I've really noticed you shift the last 6 months, like kaboom. So maybe what is your secret, baby?
Well, hello. Can you hear me? Oh, good. Okay. It's so funny that Keisha was just talking about well, first of all, the title of my chapter is "Would You Be Willing to Choose for You?" And yeah.
Janie, you can't leave because I'm gonna probably throw it back at you. So you're stuck here with us because we're gonna have. So Janie, don't go anywhere. And Keisha said to you, if you're busy, you can stay or go. It's good. But don't leave because we're having some changes that I can't really tend to because I'm with you guys. So just don't go anywhere because I might need you. So Michelle, keep going. Thank you for letting me interlude there.
No problem. So what if you were willing to choose for you? And it was funny because when you asked, if I might have something to contribute to the book, I'm having it right away. I knew without a doubt that I was going to write about relationship and about marriage and about being willing to choose for you. And I want to be clear, though, being willing to choose for you doesn't mean not choosing for others. It doesn't mean exclusion. It's not about excluding other people. It's kind of like what Keisha was talking about. It's that when you're willing to choose for you, when you're willing to follow what it is that you know you need to choose, even if it's not popular with your friends, with your family, and maybe even with yourself, but you know you have to do it, your whole world opens up, and you really actually are including all of those people in your life. So it's kind of an amazing thing. And yeah, so I wrote about, I had kind of had this, I had a really hard time embracing the concept of marriage since I was little. And so my chapter kind of specifically delves into that, because it's really, you know, in this reality that we live, we are sort of expected to, you know, go to school, go to college, you know, get married, have kids, and sort of follow that path. And for me, whenever anybody would bring or marriage, it would just make me.
Yeah. It's funny when you say that.
It's like I just felt I automatically bought into the lie that I was going to have to cut off pieces of myself to be with another person. And so that's kind of what my chapter talks about. And when I recognized that that's not the case, that we're able to be who we truly be and honor our partner for being who they are, then I was able to choose to be in relationship with this amazing man that I am so grateful to have in my life. Yeah. Woo!
Yeah. That's really interesting. That whole thing of we cut ourselves off in order to be the other person, be with the other people. And when my kids were, I used to be super athletic. Like I'd play basketball 3-4 hours a day. Like I was just a nut. Like I was happiest either playing basketball, swimming, at the gym. It didn't even feel like anything to me. It was like that was what my body enjoyed. And when I had kids, for some reason, I cut that off. And I would just sort of sit on the couch with them. And it's so interesting as I began to get my body back and began to work out again, as they turned 10, 11, and 12 and they're, you know, not on my body anymore, I looked at the places where I cut myself off. And now I see these moms jogging with their kids. I'm like, what was it in me that did that? And maybe just share with us, because this is something, you know, you help others with, Michelle. What is it that people do where they cut themselves off?
I think like so much of what we're taught, or what we sort of assume, is that there is a this or that choice, or it's either I can do this or I can do that. You know, instead of being open and willing to ask a question like, what else is possible? It's such a simple question, but it really, if you're willing not to answer it, by the way, and just ask the question, you never know what shows up. And what you just said, Erica, about then seeing women or families jogging together, doing things together, there are ways that you can still have you and have kids and have a family and have your career. And when you are willing to look outside the box and choose joy for you, that kind of, to me, it infiltrates out to your kids, to your husband, to the people in your life, and it allows them to then choose. So nobody is then really cutting off pieces of themselves to be in the box of what they think is expected.
You know, I'm going to round robin a little bit on this question because we're going to have a little extra time together. Because Charlie can't come at 5:15, so we're going to be hanging out for a little bit. So, Keisha, why don't you talk a little bit about that, if you're willing, on the whole thing of like trying to be something for someone else or turning yourself inside out to try to make other people happy?
Yeah. Wow. It's maddening. I can tell you that. What part of what I'm having an awareness of these last few days, or just really more clarity around, is so many of us in the healing arena, you know, who are doing work around healing and around changing lives and around transformation and coaching. There is this, I notice this sort of energy of what we call art and arts, artful expression, arts creation, art, all kinds of art. And it's like, what I get is that we've been willing to go out there and try everything in most cases, however that shows up for each of us. And what's really interesting is we have this amazing capacity, more than one, I would venture to say, to really fit ourselves into so many scenarios and so many different groups of people and so many different vocations, jobs, occupations, that we get really good at doing that, and we don't, like somewhere in there we lose our awareness of, wait a minute, this isn't really what I desire to do. I'm really good at it, so I was really good at a lot of things that I chose to do, not because I desired to do them, because I had all these reasons that I was choosing it. Like I was trying to make enough money for X, Y, and Z. I was trying to express my care for other people. I was trying to be a good friend or be a good partner, or, you know, be a good caregiver, or whatever. And it's so easy for us to flip those switches and do that and be that it's really easy to get, it all gets convoluted. And it becomes exhausting when you're not doing, kind of like what Michelle was talking about, when you're not giving yourself the gift of what really nurtures you, what really is generative for you, what really turns your body on, as in a living sense, like brings you to life, brings that aliveness to you, you are actually killing yourself in small increments. And so, yeah, it can be, and that of course is maddening when you're ready for change.
Right. So, Michelle, and we have Yurima Guzman up next, which is so exciting. She did her chapter in Los Dos Idiomas, so we have an English and a Spanish version. Yay! That's the first time Happy Publishing has done that. I've got so much fun out of doing that with Yurima. But Michelle, let's be in that place. What I got as a question for you, and since I love interviewing people, and I've been doing it since 1982 professionally. Not that I'm showing my 50-somethings. But the question that showed up in my head is, what happens when you want to have it, you want to change your life, and you're stuck in a corporate job, or you're, and I say it just like that. I say stuck in a corporate job when we know we're making choices every day, but what happens when we like can't see around it? Like the whole being a healer, or being a creator, or, you know, being a psychic medium, like I have these psychic gifts. How can we, and I know when every time I say how, I go, oh my gosh, I try to hit myself. It doesn't really work. So maybe just share with the people who are sitting there saying, you know, I want to have some of that. I want to be a best-selling author. I want to shift my life. I want to go to expos and help people. What are some steps people can take? What are some things people can do to start shifting their energy and be kind of, you know, like Natalie was saying, and I wake up and all day long I do what I love.
Well, yeah, and that's funny because I was about Natalie, and so if it's so overwhelming, you know, where you're just like, how can I possibly get there? My suggestion is to take baby steps, because every step, every choice creates the life that you would like to have. So, For
Yeah.
instance, you know, if what I would say is really tune into what it is that you enjoy doing that maybe you haven't been doing for a while. It could be anything, whether it's, you know, listening to music or going to a play or going for a walk, anything, riding your bike, it doesn't matter what it is, but something, and just incorporating something into your life that's a gift to you and that is choosing for you. And when you start small, then you can start to choose bigger. And you know what's funny is that when you're if you're stuck in a corporate job and you're just like, this sucks and I can't leave, you know, I have benefits and retirement and all this stuff, it doesn't mean that you can't do other things that you enjoy, that you never know how the magic's going to show up that is going to lead you to the path out of that job. If you want out of that job, it can happen for you. And what I loved that Natalie said that I think is so powerful and what's really changed my life over the last year is being willing to follow the lightness. Follow what's light. When you get that ping, when you get that, wow, I'd really like to do that, oh, but I can't choose it, maybe that is when that's the universe sort of saying, are you willing to give for you? Are you willing to choose it, to have it for you?
Wow.
And I got to say one thing.
So beautiful.
Can I say one more thing, Erica?
Yeah.
Thank you. What's so funny is that when, you know, Erica and I met through this wonderful class that she and Rebecca Hulse taught through called
Visibility?
media class. It was a wonderful media class about putting yourself out there, you know, and learning about the media and all this stuff. And when I signed up, it was so beyond anything that I was doing or being at the moment that I had no clue as to why I was signing up. And I followed the energy because it was right, and even though it made no sense in my logical brain.
I know, and then pretty soon you're like, and I did this blog, and I'm on this radio show, and I'm doing this, and I'm like, Michelle, oh my God, it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, oh my goodness, right?
And now I'm in the book. I'm having it. I mean, like how that is magic. That's what I'm talking about. It never shows up the way you think it's going to, and if you're, it doesn't mean it's always easy, but if you're willing, if you're just willing to try to that a few times, you're going to get hooked. Following the lightness.
Well, that was gorgeous, and I'm going to let Janie say a few more things since I made her stay, and then I'm going to turn it over to you, Rima Guzman. I'm really excited. I'm going to do a little Spanish and English with her just for fun. I'll try to do both so we can translate a little bit. And then, Janie, you know, the thing that I just heard Michelle say that really reverberated with me was being a yes. So do you want to just talk a little bit about the yes energy and kind of what that means to you?
Yeah. The cool thing is Michelle was running my bars when and it popped into my head, say something about this class. And it was cool to watch her go through that process because she was just like, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh. So to watch her have her yes, like with that, even though she didn't know why, that was super cool. And what I have noticed, like especially in the last like couple weeks, is when something comes up that is light and I say yes to it, it's like the actualization is so fast. It's like, oh. You know, kind of like I feel like I waved a magic wand, like poof. Yeah. And you know, before where I was in like stuckness, it was like ask and you shall receive wasn't like I didn't think it was real.
Yeah, and I want everyone to watch Janie this next year because she's on fire. She has logo, she's got her web thing going, she's got, I mean, oh my gosh, take a little technical know-how and then a little bit of like, oh, I forgot how beautiful I was, and mix it together, and oh, Janie, you are going to be so much fun to be having it with. So thank you for the book. And Yurira, I am so joyful to meet you, Yurira Guzman. Welcome, bienvenidos.
Yes, hi, thank you. Hi, yeah, well, I'm Yurira Guzman, and I have my chapter in this amazing book that is called The Day That Changed My Universe, The Choice That Changed My Universe. And my chapter is in Spanish and English. As you can see, and you can figure it out, my first language is Spanish. I don't know if you can get that, but it has been big gift. This book and being part of this book has been just another choice that is changing my universe and my reality. And when we start talking about this possibility, I just got so excited when you, Erica, were starting talking about it. It was just like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if I can do it, but I want to do it. And so
I want to just break it down a little bit for people, because Yurira was living in Mexico City. Was it Mexico City? Guadalajara in Mexico. And you know, when some of the cultural values that she was up against really were not the kind of thing where it said, go be strong and conquer and win an Emmy and be the strongest possible woman you could be. This is not the environment that she was raised in. And so I was raised by a feminist who won an Emmy. My mother was a killer TV producer, was on an airplane all the time. So for me, there was no really question of what killer things would I do with my life. It was more like, which killer things would I do with my life? And so I look at some of the things that Yurira went up against when she left her corporate job and she got on an airplane. And maybe just tell us a little bit when you decided to travel and just really your life became something completely different than what was expected of you. It's a very amazing story. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, it's one of the times that I really, really trust in what I was, in that time I call my inner inspiration or whatever. Now I know it's my knowing, but I was raised in the south of Mexico with a very traditional family, and I figured out how to get out of that traditional environment, not because it was bad, just it was just not matching with what I wanted in my life. That I didn't know what I really wanted, but I knew that it wasn't that. So I was in Guadalajara, and it was just a party night with some friends, and we were just talking about dreams and things that we wanted to do. And suddenly one of them, that is one of my best friends, she said, well, I'm just going to visit some family in Canada. And she started talking about what it was about, and I just got so excited. I was just like, I just started crying a little bit and sweating, and my friends were like, what's going on with you? I didn't know. It was this heat inside of my body, and I just said, I'm going. And my friend never invited me. She was just talking about her plans. And so I start my journey with something unexpected, and that I never imagined what it was or how it will look like, but it changed my life, and it really gave me tools and helped me to find myself again, and know that I was a strong woman. Still inside of me was a strong woman, a powerful being that wanted to go out and have adventures in the world and do and be something greater and with more joy and with more possibility of this choosing.
Right. You know, it was so interesting. I was processing some things. It was really, I mean, this was kind of interesting. I was processing, you know, kind of going through my life and the years that I chose kind of the wrong person, and a marriage that I did bend and staple and mutilate myself to be as tiny as possible and as unsuccessful as possible and as unthreatening as possible and as small as possible. And it was like I was trying to be smaller and smaller and smaller and fit. And, you know, the funny thing is I wasn't good at it.
We tried hard.
Along with like the mommies groups, I was too different. I didn't get along on my street. I had a beautiful neighborhood with all these really nice families. I didn't fit in. It was like I was trying and trying and trying and trying. And I have to tell you, I got an app in that career of that life. And I'm not saying it to say like, I guess that was kind of a little bit of self-judgment. But when I started just being wild and teaching and having fun and being on stages and writing, it was like, oh my gosh. And what can you tell us about those moments when you took on the good daughter or the good wife or the good, like when you're raised in a family, in my family my dad was older, Italian, and so there was this traditional way of being that was good, right? And so then you're always, maybe just share with us, for those women who are listening, I got a real connectivity with women and maybe Latinas and Italians or others.
Yeah.
Environments where they weren't really told, you know, they were, you know, and my mom was wild, but, you know, there was still this feeling from that historical of being in a box, being what you're supposed to be. How do we kind of make peace with that, or is there making peace with that, or maybe just share with us, how do we get out of the box?
I think for some people, if the box is not enough, you're gonna find a way to get out of it. Some people like the box, and it's okay. I mean, all the traditions and all these limitations that we, or beliefs that we sometimes grow up with, sometimes they work for us, and you feel happy following all those, and your life is just joyful and expanded and bright. But if it's not like that, if it's something that is like, am I living my life according to someone else's points of view or rules? Maybe it's time to start creating your own rules. Maybe it's time just to run your lives with your own rules, and just going for choices, and what it feels like, what it makes your body vibrate, what it makes your body go in, you know, jumps, and when your body jumps and just moves and like, ah! That energy is like, it's an indication that there is something for you there. And if you are able to choose that and say, well, it's just, feels so yummy, so fun.
I'm having it, right?
Yeah, that's the moment to say, I am having it. I am going for it, and I'm going to own whatever it comes after my choice. And it's that energy. So it doesn't matter where we are at. It doesn't matter how difficult looks like choosing a new thing or something that you don't know. If it feels like I want to sing and I want to jump and it sounds so yummy, just go for it and having it, because
wow. You know, I love this group. This is the best group in the whole wide world. I swear to gosh, I feel so blessed. Because right in the middle of that, I said, what about when you feel uncomfortable when you're making a new choice? And as I thought that, you said, sometimes you feel uncomfortable when you're making a new choice.
yeah.
So talk about that piece kind of between when you say, okay, first you say I'm having it. You say, okay, I'm having it. I don't know what this is, but there's something better, right? There's something better than this. Okay, but you're not there yet. So tell us a little bit about that journey and what people can do to kind of like keep that hope alive or that spark or that joy alive.
Well, sometimes it doesn't get nice, you know. It doesn't get like yummy. The path, sometimes the process, it can be uncomfortable. So be prepared to be uncomfortable. But even in those moments where something is like, oh, it's just change. When we're uncomfortable is when we are working out, you know, and you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just doing 200 squats and I feel just, you know, like something is uncomfortable at the end of my back.
What squat? I don't know what a squat is.
Something is changing. It can be fun. So keep going. Not give up.
I can figure it out though. That's a perfect thing. If you're used to eating a certain way and you change it, your body's going to have an adjustment period. I love that example, actually, because I think almost everyone can picture a time when they changed something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at the beginning, when they were changing it, they were fluffing off the old way, and the body will keep kind of going back to the old neural pathways. So if we look at like the career thing, for me, it's like going back to working for someone else versus having my own company blossom. That was something I teeter-tottered on for many years. And now that, like, I've just said I'm having it,
yeah.
And I just said, okay, I wasn't raised being told business. I was raised kind of working for someone else in the media, so it was interesting. But it was like a different kind of thing when you're working for yourself. So tell us a little bit about that kind of like making new choices. And you know what else? I was just asked to have you give us some more questions that people can ask themselves, like in the mornings.
Ooh.
For their day.
One question that I really love, because it changed everything for me. So what do you know that you're pretending not to know, that if you knew, it will change your whole reality? And everything that doesn't allow you to, you know, perceive, being, and receive that, to just destroy and uncreate it. Because we know what we know, and we are very good pretending that we don't know. I can't do that. I don't know, but we really know. And yeah, and once that we start, just stop pretending that you know. Just stop pretending that there is not choice for you. Instead, we can start asking that question. What do I know that I'm pretending not to know? That it could change just immediately.
Wow. That kind of led me to thinking about, when you said, what do we know that we're pretending we don't know? that kind of also led me into like, what do we know that will be kind of in the face of what we're supposed to be? Or like, let's just say you have an abusive father, but you're supposed to love him because he's your father, but he's slimy, but you're not allowed to see that. So what do you do with that when you get those kinds of things where you're like, you're kind of being shown one thing and then you're kind of being told you're not allowed to say that? Or do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one. I threw a good one at you. Good thing Lisa Cooney's joining us. She can take that one on too. Go ahead.
I'm having it. There is something that you know in that situation. I don't know what it could be. That there is something that you know that it's creating or co-creating that situation that it may be not the best choice to have in your life. But how you can get out of that? Maybe it's knowing what you know. Maybe it's just getting to your power, getting your power back and knowing what you know. And I know there are many books and many things that can give you tools or help, but there is always one thing that works every time, and it's your knowing. So asking this question can help to reveal that knowing that you think that you don't have.
I muted myself. I'm going to ask a question of you specifically for Latina, because one of the things we talked about, and this is just totally out of the blue because Lisa's going to be joining us in a minute. And so I want to give you a chance just to talk about something we've talked about before, which is sort of sexualness and being a woman. And we talk a little bit about being a Latina. And of course, I grew up, pretty darn Caucasian. But but tell us a little bit about that whole experience of that, and just kind of tell us a little bit about some of the things you'd like to maybe communicate or share to your fellow, sisters.
Yeah. That and maybe it's not just for Latinas, but it's a lot of what I know happens in Latin countries, especially for women, where it seems like we know since we're very little what we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to look like, how is the right way to choose in our lives. And many of us just do whatever is required for our culture to do, to fit into this box of being a good person or good according to any religion. In many Latin countries, Catholic is something very, very strong. And what if we can choose even though we have any culture in our background? What if it's we can choose if we have any religion? It doesn't matter where we are at. It doesn't matter how many people and how many areas in our lives are telling us what is correct or what is not correct to do. What if we start asking questions about what if feels good to me? If it feels good, it's okay. Go and do it and enjoy it. Yeah. And if it doesn't, what if we start just asking questions until we get that feeling of, oh my gosh, this feels so good for me. I want that. I'm having that. And go for it.
Right. And I love that. So thank you so much, Yurira. Muchas gracias. I'm so happy you were here. I just got the idea we're going to have to do a bilingual one. So we'll do one on the book, and we'll do it in both languages. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
And I didn't los dos idiomas porque I can do a little bit and you can do the most.
I can do well in Spanish.
Yeah, and it was so lovely having you. And go get the book right now. There's tons of gifts. Yurira gave a beautiful gift. And my next guest is someone who has helped me. I don't even know if I can really put words on how Dr. Lisa Cooney has helped me shift my life. And I might start crying. Oh my gosh. So I went to a class that she taught, and she helped me find the 2-year-old Erica, who was really bright and cheerful and different, who was fearless. And at 2, I had actually left that Erica, and I had disassociated. And there was a core place where my entire life changed. And Dr. Lisa Cooney was one of the catalysts. And, you know, there's so many beautiful people that I've met as the course of my life, and I'm so blessed. I'm so hungry. I'm always learning from everyone. But I want to introduce this this next author. She's also been in some of my other books, and so she's actually, we are rocking and rolling this year. She is in my energy book, so she's also in the energy of receiving. I also took a money class from Dr. Lisa Cooney, and I learned from her constantly, and it's just Lisa being Lisa, changing the world. So Dr. Lisa Cooney, I'm inviting you in to just start sharing with us kind of your I'm Having It, which is a very powerful chapter. And I'm going to actually mute myself a little bit and just do a 5-minute little thing, and you're going to run the show for a few minutes. Is that good? Do we have audio? Can anyone hear Lisa?
No.
Oh! Well, we're not having audio, Lisa, so you need to fix your audio. Nothing ever shows up the way you think it will. Do you think you need to call back in? Well, that was a really good intro anyways. I'm so glad you didn't leave, Keisha and Michelle and Yurira. And Lisa would come back. I think one of the things that I learned from doing these hangouts is you got to run with the show. And maybe what I'll do, since I was bragging about her, is maybe I'll share a little bit about the book's inception. Does that sound fun, ladies?
Yeah.
So I was sitting there working on a book about creativity, which is something I feel really strongly about and something I'm really good at. And that book's coming out next, one of the next ones. And this book showed up, and it was mid-May, and it was I'm Having It. And it was just that shift, that moment. For Yurira, and she's in Mexico, and she's like, I'm going to a trip with my friends. And she broke up with her boyfriend, and she just got on an airplane and said, you know what, my life is going to be different than it was. And I sat there in this moment of the book, and then I said, you know what, I am so busy. There is no way I can do this book. Thank you, book, for showing me your beautiful self. It's not going to happen. A week goes by, another week goes by. Every day the book is going, I'm having it. I'm giving you the title. I'm giving you the concept. You know all these beautiful people. They're always teaching you. It was like, come on, Erica. I'm like, but you don't understand. I've got the energy of receiving, and then I've got the energy of healing is going to come up after that, and then I've got this, and you know, the book was so funny. And it really started to have a characteristic of its own. It's amazing. And then it was fun. I want to tell the cover real quick. Janie actually took this photo when she was on a retreat. And guess what they were doing on the retreat? They were picturing the lives they want to have.
Oh.
I just found that out. Corey Michelle was teaching a retreat. Corey Michelle is in this other book that I wrote. And she said, I recognize that cover. And I said, oh, one of the authors took it. She goes, I know, we were on a retreat about having it.
Wow.
I know, right? So it has like full integrity with the stories in the book. Is the cover art is actually shot when Janie was in a place where she was looking at how she could be having it. So don't you love it? I didn't even know that. I just thought it was, and it's in Mexico. You remember? So I was like, oh, we're having a Spanish chapter. It's perfect. So this book it was a very much a radical demand for itself. It was not going to be denied. And I finally just moved over and said, okay, I would like to be in the book. So Lisa, do you want to see if your audio works, love?
Did it work?
Yes!
How does it get any better?
That's a round of applause. We teach that in kindergarten.
Oh my gosh. How does it get any better than that? That was so anticlimactic and so funny. You did such a beautiful introduction and my heart was touched and I started tearing up myself just remembering that whole thing that you shared about your little girl. I haven't literally seen you literally since then, I think. And wow, what a beautiful, beautiful introduction. Thank you. Thank you.
And you know what? I was telling someone earlier, Lisa, is when we have this much power on a call, the technology sometimes gets stuck. It's just,
oh, absolutely.
I was doing an interview with Melinda Asselos, who's actually one of my cover designers. She froze Google. She froze her power was so strong. It took 8 hours for that Google Hangout to end. It had to end at the end of 8 hours. It turned off it completely, she blew out. As I was like, just goes to show you what strong women being powerful can do.
And just goes to show what the energy of I'm having it, that demand, that tenacity of consciousness, that energy that says no matter what.
I'm gonna take a 5-minute biology thing. You're gonna run the show. I'm gonna do that still, and I'll be back in just a few minutes. And sound good?
I'm going to run the show. What am I going to do here? I guess I'm going to talk. It's a good thing I like to talk. So I am in another one of Erica's book. I believe this is number 5 for me now. I think we have 2 other ones that are upcoming in the next month or 2, and a few more after that. So when I first met Erica and what she represented and getting these energies and these books out there and the compilation energy and the communion of bringing us all together and asking us all to join our own contributions on whatever topic, the energy of happiness, in this case the I'm having energy is what we're promoting today. And this one is really different than any of the other ones. The other ones for me were particularly related to my business about leading and being a catalyst for what I call the Beyond Abuse movement, which is designed to, big target here, to eliminate and eradicate all forms of abuse off this planet so that all individuals live radically and orgasmically alive, and to empower all individuals to live radically and orgasmically alive. So joining the previous books, the energy of happiness, the energy of receiving, the energy of expansion, the energy of healing, even the energy of creativity and play that are coming out, were very different energies related to this Beyond Abuse movement that I'm the catalyst for. And when I'm having it came to my desk or through the email with Erica, there was something that took me aback for a moment. And there was something that said, you know what? This is something very personal, and I have something to offer here, and I'm also going to go through something with this I'm having it energy that I didn't know exactly what it was, but I knew it was going to be big. And the chapter that I did in this book, Creating Your Life Falling Together, was literally about my own experience of my life falling apart, or so it looked like some months ago when I wrote it. And the process and what it took for me as everything just kind of disintegrated into a puddle, so to speak, business, relationship, house, body, health, all of those things, finances, just came crashing down into nothingness, so to speak, I literally wrote this chapter from a current experience about what it took for me to be that radical demand, to be that tenacity of consciousness, to say no matter what looks like is falling apart in front of me, how can this actually be a coming together in a way that is way beyond anything that I've ever done in my life? And that's where this chapter comes from. It comes from that demand of never giving up, never giving in, and never quitting.
I want to pause you right there because I got a big awareness of something that we talked about a little bit earlier, was when you are a radical demand for change, it isn't just peaceful, easy, like the universe is showing me by giving me all this cool stuff right away, immediately, blah, blah, blah. It's like there's a place when you change everything where it's like there's a vulnerability that you're communicating to me that feels almost kind of naked. Like it almost feels like you don't even know who you are. And maybe
it is a nakedness. It is a nakedness. It's a nakedness, not like the naked body without clothes. You know, it's a nakedness of being really raw, really human, really vulnerable, really grateful, really kind and nurturing to yourself, and really like looking at everything and being like, I can really let anything go and everything go, and nothing matters to me at all other than me being in the core of me and choosing what's light and right for me from that place inside that is a yes when I mean yes and a no when I mean no, and providence moves too. And I'll tell you, I'm here now, but the last 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whenever we wrote this chapter, what I went through was beyond what the 2 and 3 decades of the first years of my life and the abuse that I have journaled and talked about, Voice America, the books in my practice, the other books that are coming out worldwide soon. It blew that out of the water, what I went through in the last 3 to 4 months. And where I am now on the other side of it, in this naked vulnerability of the wealth of my being, when I look back through the eyes of this chapter, as this is coming out now, I'm like, geez, you know, I wrote it before I even went through it, knowing something was coming like this, and not having any clue what it was actually going to be like, but I knew that I had to get my big girl panties on and pull up my bootstraps and take care of it and let everything go, slipping through my fingers.
Lisa, I need to go here with you right now for me. So you know, I told everybody he was coming. This is free therapy. So when you're looking at having it, and you come from a background where you've been taking abuse, and you come from a background where people are in drama or are brutally mean, what are some things? Uh-oh, we lost you. I keep losing you at these critical moments. Okay, your videos, I'll just put on me for right now, and your video will come back. I'm getting grainy, though. I think it's getting darker here in California. Just tell us if you've gone through an abuse or you're in an abusive environment, and this could be at work where someone's being mean to you. This could be in your home. This could be with your mother. I mean, it could be, it comes in all kinds of forms. What is it that we can do? How do we shift into the I'm having it energy from the I'm taking shit from, excuse me, everyone energy? You're muted, Lise. Hello. There you go.
I'm here. I was just working with technical issues.
Oh, and we can see you again, too.
All right. So what do I tell somebody who's been abused with the I'm having it energy? Really?
Well, no, I mean, or maybe they're still being abused.
Right. Well, I just got off of a 2-hour telecall that I lead weekly called The Art of Fantastical Facilitation, where I actually work with practitioners answering this question over and over again in different ways. And I just facilitated someone on this. Basically, you have to first acknowledge that there is something that is not okay going on. And the way that you know that something is not okay going on is, one, how are you feeling right now about your life and the situation you're in? Are you scared? Are you nervous? Do you have the pit in your stomach? Do you want to vomit? Those are all signs that something's going on and you need to look at it. Are you drinking too much? Are you eating too much? Are you not exercising? Are you getting angry and have no space of allowance and are just frustrated? That's how you kind of know that there's something going on, something's not right with your body, you're not centered, and you need to take a look at what is that energy that is causing that reaction. And most of us won't turn to look at it. Most of us will turn away, and I can spin around in my chair, not like The Exorcist, but spin around in my chair and like run away completely. And that's exactly what happened to me. I didn't know I was running. I didn't know I was running as much as I was running from something, and then I got faced with it. And then because I lead this, movement, if I'm not going to face it, then who is? So I really just turned and looked at everything, and in a different way than I ever have. And it wasn't like there was any real big secret underneath the carpet that I didn't know about. It was more like, do I have the willingness to love and care for myself and be really naked and vulnerable in some weaknesses and some areas that I really need to change for my own well-being? And can I do so with love and kindness and compassion? And can I do so also with the tenacity of like, enough already? I am not letting anything limit me, including my point of view, including a limited point of view, including some other thing in my life, a relationship, a business. I even quit the Beyond Abuse movement and said, no more, I'm not doing it anymore if it keeps showing up like this. And doing so, indulging in all of that, quitting and staying, changing everything, letting go of everything, items, material objects, people, places, business ventures, and all of that, to find the core within me, and the yes that is yes, and the no that is no, and what is light and right, and the whispers of consciousness of truth beyond anything, until I got everything away so that I can get in. That's when I got really the I'm having it energy and the demand of that. And it takes great courage to get naked. And I'll tell you, it's kind of fun too.
Wow. I am so thankful that you could come today. This is the book, I'm Having It. Dr. Cooney is chapter number 2. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about things you're up to as far as your radio show? Why don't you tell us a little bit more about how we can find you and learn more from you?
Oh, you're such a doll, Erica. Thank you. And first of all, thank you for bringing all these authors together in all these books. The ones, all of you beautiful beings on the Google Hangout here, saying hello to you and giving a shout out to my co-authors as well. The book is brilliant. Your chapters are brilliant. Erica, you're brilliant in bringing people together, and I value that. I value that you said yes to your own I'm having it, and you do this for all of us who may not have had a voice in the way that we have now based on you and Happy Publishing. So thank you. And in terms of what I'm doing now is, well, I do Voice America every week on the Empowerment Channel. We had 50,000 hits in the month of July. It was amazing. We went from 10,000 to 15,000 to 50,000, and it just jumped. And that's a psychoeducational resource that is free. We're actually offering a subscription program where I offered my books, The Energy of Expansion and The Energy of Healing, and your books and all the other authors' books as a gift to them if they signed up for the subscription program with us with Voice America. And you can find that on drlisacooney.com, my radio show. And then I'm doing my classes. I'll be in Kelowna next week doing 5 days of classes, and then Washington, D.C. the week after that doing another 5 days of classes. So take a look at it. Find me on the web. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks, Erica.
Thank you so much. And you have just been, and Laura, are you present and ready? I'm seeing your, there you go. So I'll introduce Laura next. Dr. Lisa, let's just leave with someone who is, I feel like the energy I got was someone who's like pulling themselves out of the darkness. So really what I got was someone who'd been kind of like in the darkness, pulling themselves out. And the I'm having it energy is a little bit about that, like reaching for the light. And just kind of give us a little bit more of, we don't have to do the how, but maybe just tell us a little bit more, like, practically, what are some things that can show up for people? What can they start paying attention to in their lives? Just give us a little bit more of kind of
being the catalyst for whatever it is that lights you up. does not mean that you have to carry the torch for it and be the revolution for it. And just because something's light and easy and fun for you doesn't mean it's light and easy and fun for other people. Like, who really wants to go around the world talking about abuse? It's light and fun for me because I know I can move people beyond abuse so easily in 10 minutes, 20 minutes. What was that facilitation? 25 minutes maybe. That's fun for me. It's easy for me. It's light because I don't want to see another person nor myself stuck in the darkness. So I really had to let go of caring whether anybody really chose to move beyond their abuse. And I really had to face this causal reality and say, you know what? You want to keep people in the darkness? Go for it. Anybody that wants to stay there? Stay there. But if you don't want to, here's my hand. I'm reaching out for you. I'm reaching out for you. Here's the flashlight. Here's me. Here's my hand. Let's go. Let's do this together. But I'm not going to fight for you. I'm going to join with you. And so what I'm letting you know is that there's help out there. There's plenty of help out there. There's contribution out there. If you are locked in your cage of abuse, take a look at what you're not looking at and be courageous enough to look under the carpet. And even if it's a relationship, money, your body, your health, your business, your job, take a look at it one thing at a time and just make the change, because I'll tell you what, a year later when you look back, you will be so glad that you did. A month later when you look back, you'll be so glad that you did, because it will never show up the way you think it is, but at least you'll be having it, and you'll be surprised about the joyous, glorious adventure that life is right in front of you now. Do that versus live in the cage of abuse. That's the I'm having it energy.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Lisa.
Thank you, Erica, as always.
Changed my life forever. I'm just beyond where I could have ever been without you in my life. Dr. Lisa Cooney, her chapter is number 2. Go ahead to drlisacooney.com and you better go get on her radio show, because unless you want to stay the same.
Yeah, get on my radio show. Woohoo!
And Laura, are you ready, babe? I keep seeing you kind of fade in and out. Thank you, Dr. Lisa. You were awesome.
So can you hear me, Erica?
I can hear you, and I don't see you, but I did.
I know. So give me 10 seconds, and I will be right back.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm really joyful that you could all come on this hangout. And after Laura Hackel, who's a beautiful energy and spirit healing space, we're going to have Susan Schatzer, who's coming on board next. And I guess the message that I'm getting right now is just, when you don't know what to do to change your life, or you don't know, just reach out to those of us who've been through some really tough patches and have started to shift into a better life, and just have that spirit, you're not alone. And I just want to share that with everyone who's listening right now, is you're not alone. There are people here who want to help, who have made difficult decisions, who've been through difficult times, who are in your corner. And so don't sit there kind of alone and sad and thinking nothing can happen to change it, because it can. And I am really delighted. Laura also was in one of my other books.
Yeah.
Right? She was in The Energy of Healing. So she's a #1 best-selling author. And we actually met on a summit. She invited me to a summit that she was helping coordinate. And so we did some happiness stuff. And then we were just like, what else can we do together? And we were like, oh, what else can we do together? And then it's like, oh, do you want, and then now she's working on creativity. And she said something else, Laura, you're just amazing. And I think also what I love about Laura, she's also a mom of an athlete, and she's had to make really interesting choices there. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your chapter, and I'm having it, and just kind of give us a what's up, and I'm going to mute myself for a minute, okay?
All right, great. So my chapter, and I'm having it, is it goes through my first I'm having it moment, and then actually talks about what are the steps that it would take you to actually have an I'm having it moment, and what do you need to have in place. And you know, we think that if we just say, oops, I want this, that it will come to us. And a lot of times it doesn't. And it doesn't come to us for a variety of reasons, but the most common one is, A, we're not clear about exactly what we want, and then B, sometimes we're clear about what we want, but we're sort of waiting for it to happen instead of really stepping in and taking action for ourselves. So I want you to think about, like, the last time that you were trying to make a decision. Have you ever been in that place where you're just waiting for the universe to tell you which direction you should go in? Like, so you're not sure, should I go here for the weekend or should I stay and do this, right, as an example. And so you go, well, I should go for the weekend. And the next thing you know, something shows up and it actually indicates you should stay. So you go, okay, I should stay. And then something shows up that says you should go. And now you're totally confused because you're in this place. Should I stay? Should I go? What should I do? And the reality is that that's how you're caught in the trap of not really centering yourself and then getting clear. What do you want to do? Not what do other people want you to do, not what's the smart decision, not, you know, what's your mom going to think if you don't do it, or what's your husband going to think. It's really from that deep place inside of you, what would make your heart sing? What is it that you want to do? And if you can get to that place and declare that for yourself, you'll be surprised that the universe will line up right behind you to make it happen. But you have to get in that place. So now think about, we do this about, should I stay here for the weekend or should I go? And what about our big life things? What about, you know, I'm looking for my soulmate. Like, how do you go about that? Like, you have to get really clear about what you're wanting. And most of us, after a certain number of years on this planet, we've accumulated all these beliefs that don't necessarily support us getting that soulmate, right? Because if we had beliefs that supported it, we'd probably have them already. And so you have to look at
I just want to pause you for a sec, because one of the things I love in your chapter is you talk about vibrational alignment.
Yes.
And you have a really nice soulmate story in your chapter. And I love how you talk about this. And I think sometimes people, they hear about vibrational alignment and it sounds like something like, how on earth do I get that?
Right.
And you actually explain that in a way that is completely, when I'm reading it, I'm really getting it. Of course, then my brain takes over and I get messed up. So why don't you bring us back into that moment and tell that story from your chapter? It's gorgeous.
Yeah. So so I have a friend who was really looking to attract the person to spend his life with, and he had this problem that he had a girlfriend, but that wasn't really working for him. And so I said, okay, great. You can't get a new one unless you get rid of the old one. And he's like, well, I can't really get rid of the old one. I'm like, well, why can't you get rid of the old one? And he's like, well, what if nobody comes? Well, then nobody comes. But you can't get a new one until you get rid of the old one. And then so we actually got into this conversation and we started going back into his childhood. And it turns out that he was raised in the Czech Republic. And his family was a very, very modest means. And he got the message his entire life that you should be happy with what you have and you should make do. And he got lucky because he actually got sent to a boarding school. Like, he got a scholarship for a sports academy. And he went, and he was always the one that was borrowing everybody else's jacket because he didn't have the money for a jacket. Or he was trailing around with someone else because he didn't have the means. And it supported that belief he had, like, you have to be grateful for whatever anybody gives you. Whatever the universe puts in front of you, you have to be grateful for it. And so he really had this cap on himself, like, I can only have this much. I'm only really worth this much. And so you can see how his relationship with the girlfriend that wasn't working for him fit the same way the rest of his life was. There were some things that were great, but it wasn't really working for him. And he really had to be willing to break out of that. You know, and so let's say, let's think about if you're in a place where you only deserve a certain amount. Let's say that you're vibrating and that's at about 4 out of 10. But if you want I want the soulmate that I can live with and connect with for the rest of my life, that's at least an 8 out of 10. So you can kind of see with these beliefs, he can't get to here. He can see it, but he can't get there. And so that day, we actually did a whole bunch of energy work to release the connection to his beliefs. And they weren't just his beliefs. They came from his grandfather's lineage and his grandfather before him and his grandfather before him. So it had been in his culture and in his very ancestry for years and years, hundreds of years. And so we broke all of that open. And of course, you can imagine by the end of that, he wasn't even sure what end was up. Okay, thank you. I'm not sure what's going on, but what we were doing is we were raising his vibration and replacing those beliefs of I only deserve a certain amount with I deserve whatever I want in life. Like I am a God's creation and I should have whatever I want. And so he left that day, and within no more than a couple of months, he had broken it off with the existing girlfriend. He got an offer for a job that had him move to another city. In that city, he met a new person, and she and he hit it off immediately. So they lived together for 9 months a year. They were married. They have 2 beautiful children. And he will say, that afternoon changed my life. And what really changed his life was going from this vibration to this vibration. Like
Wow.
that was all in it. No matter what he did before, he wasn't going to get to that place.
Wow. You know, I love that, and I feel like there's some residue there that you're tapping into that I resonated with around poverty. And when I have done work on that, I've gone back 6 generations of Irish and Italian poverty. It was more Irish. And so I can see, and I've done a couple different things on it, and it always goes back 6 or 7 generations. And I think it's so fascinating when you talk about that, because maybe just tell us if we are aware that there's some really old crap. What's a tool that we can do once? Because I feel like it's not mine at all. Like, it's not mine at all. Like our first caller, Natalie, she's talking about how her whole life has changed and how she's been able to shift everything. And I'm like, yeah, like that feels more like me than the 6 generations of potato farming.
Right. Well, and you'll also notice that when you go back, let's say that you release a certain amount of it, and it allows you to make X amount a year. And then you're going to run into it again when you try to make X plus. And now you have to go back because now you want to make X plus. And all those beliefs come right back to you because you're basically moving your ceiling up a little bit at a time. And so the best thing to do when you're in that spot, and it goes back generations, is to do some form of vibrational healing. So crystal bowls will do it, music will do it, shaking yourself around will do it, and literally call in your ancestors and call in, whatever the power is that you believe in. If it's God or the universe, or if there's Archangel Michael, whoever you're feeling called to, call them in and just be very clear about your request. I am ready to release this belief. And it's really important when you do it that you do it with love. Because so many times what we're releasing, we're so in resentment that it's in our life today. Like if it were just not for those 7 generations of poverty, then I would have a different viewpoint. And so if you can send it with love, you'll actually change the belief 7 generations back and 7 generations forward.
Nice.
So it means that your children will not experience what you experience.
I love that, and I have to tell you a really funny story really quick. This is just so funny, Laura. When you just said that, I loved it because my kids learn so quickly. They just learn so quickly. Oh my gosh. So I had been tuning into my potency, right? I was like, okay, I've been taking abuse for too long. I'm taking abuse every day. I'm done taking abuse. I'm like, okay. And I was like, who's the potent witch inside of me? Who's the potency? And I went to a hockey game with my kids, and it was just Saturday. And the funniest thing was I used to be completely adverse to any of their fighting.
Right.
I couldn't watch it.
Right.
I was completely appalled by it. I couldn't. Well, my dad had been a Golden Gloves boxer, and he'd hit someone one time and they went unconscious. And he said, I will never hit anyone ever again.
Right.
So I was raised in my life, I will never hit anyone ever. And so I never have. And, you know, people would come out and they just look at me, and I'm like, I'll never hit them, so what are they looking at, right?
Right.
And so I avoided any kind of confrontation. I'm sitting there in this hockey game, and I was like embracing my potency. And I said to the kids, I go, oh, I hope there's a fight.
And they're like, Mom.
Yeah, they're like, what? And this whole time my son wouldn't play hockey seriously because he didn't want a confrontation.
Right.
He didn't want any, and I just released that. I said, it's not that I want to fight, it's that I want to be able to fight if fighting is, I don't even mean physically fighting because I really can't see myself doing that, but it was more like the energy of what I was not willing to do.
Yes.
Had shifted, and I for some reason that story showed up for me when you said that, of my kids really quickly shifted, and I had just bought into my dad. You will never ever. You'll be nice. You're the older sister. You'll never hurt your brother. You're the older one. You're the one that has to make. It was like the job I took, you know.
Exactly, and you took that job before you consciously took that job.
Right.
And then you reaffirmed it maybe consciously later, but you had that job before you knew you had that job.
Well, and I was even proud of the fact that I was like that.
Yeah.
I was better than all the other people who were willing to fight. So thank you for that aha moment, Laura. That was really cool. You're so beautiful. I love your chapter in these books. You are so amazing. Where can people find you? And then I'm going to turn it over to Susan. I want to show everyone her first beautiful, oh my gosh, her chapter in this book is stunning also. So tell how people can find you, and then we're going to turn it over to Susan.
Great. People can find me at artfulhealings.com. And yes, you'll see all that I'm up to, which is a lot of fun stuff these days. It's really cool. The more you shift your vibration up, the more great things show up in your life. And so suddenly what would have stressed you out, you're sort of like, wow, look at all these great things I'm playing with today. Yes, thank you for this opportunity, Erica, as usual. I love working with you, playing with you.
I know. 2015 is a game changer, isn't it?
In a big way.
To say the least. So Susan Schatzer, come and play with us. Tell us about the energy of I'm having it. What does that mean?
That means I was able to ditch some old programming that was going on, and my life was just in a shambles, to creating something with way more magic. I was functioning from unawareness and unconsciousness, and I was creating trauma and drama in my life, and I got to the point where I was ready to go to a third world country and get a stem cell transplant, or I was taking myself out. That was it. It was the end of it. It was one or the other. I was at the end of the rope. And I just happened to be listening to someone on a telecall, and he very, very beautifully, very graciously, Dr. Dane here, said to me, you know, Susan, could this be what you're asking the universe for? And it was so incredible for me, because I wasn't able to say yes and I wasn't able to say no, because maybe truly I was asking for something like this in my life, and I didn't even know what the this was at the time. And I said, yeah, okay, let's go with this. And literally, with the shifting that I talk about, there's 3 main shifts in my chapter. So I'm asking you, will you dare to be aware that will totally change your life?
I love it. Thank you so much. You know, one of the things that Susan teaches among all of her beautiful gifts, she teaches a little bit about your birth and the consciousness around your birth and how that can shape your life. I know that's not specifically germane right now, but I'm just so fascinated by it. And I think Laura's story kind of like consciously, if we look at like the consciousness of the hangout we're in right now, tell us a little bit about kind of your birth and what those things can do and how you can shift into having it, even if there's been some things you're not even, do you know what I mean, that you don't even know.
I call it the invisible limitation. It's something that you are completely not aware of. So when we're born, when we choose to embody in this lifetime, we're outside, then we're in utero, and then we're born. And so actually our first language isn't the language we speak now. It's not our verbal language, whether it's English or whatever, you know, happen to be spoken in your household. And I come to find out that it's actually energy is your first language. And I was running a woman's set of bars, and she was pregnant. She was getting ready to give birth the next day, and it just so happened that her baby was in distress, she was in distress, and they were going to induce her. So she came to get a body process run. While I was running this body process, it was amazing because I started to have this conversation with someone. And I kept looking over my shoulder, trying to figure out who this person was and where it was who's talking to me. Come to find out it was the baby. The mother's baby was talking with me. I was having a full-out adult conversation with this baby, and this baby started to tell me that now you have tools that are available to you to create a different possibility with our mothers giving birth and with us being born, and we would really like for them to show up here on the planet. So wow. Being able to honor that energy, you know, they just shared so much with me. The babies have been telling me all kind of things about, you know, how they actually contribute to their mothers and their fathers getting together, that they put everything in place for them to actually show up here on the planet. They pick their names, and they pick, you know, the life that they're going to have. And it was just incredible to have this super adult conversation with this infant that isn't even born yet.
Wow.
Magical. Very magical.
When you say the, I really got a hit when you said the language of energy. I got like it went like, when you, and I remember one time I was telling someone that when they emailed me, I could feel what mood they were in. And yeah. This was in the early 90s. When I was working for Intel. And I was like, I could tell what everyone, I could feel what they're typing. I could, it, you know, if it's fast, like it's hard, or it's like all caps, or it's like gentle, or it's like short. It's like I can feel their energy. And maybe just tell us a little bit more about that. I love what you said about that language of energy. And maybe just the other thing that just showed up for me to ask you, Susan, was how we can sort of harness that awareness that is kind of a gift to those that are energy sensitives.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was your first question?
Well, tell us a little bit about the language of energy, what that means, that you learned from the babies, and then how we can harness that to nourish our lives.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, so have you ever walked into a room with a whole bunch of people and you kind of stopped short and you knew like a fight had just taken place, or people were angry with each other, or there was a riff in the air, even though you hadn't been there and you hadn't heard any verbal communication with anyone? That's the energy. That's the language of energy. It's sort of like when you can be around people and you can tell they're in love. That's the language of energy. You know, you can just, you know, pick up the phone with someone that you have contact with, and you can know just by the way they're talking with you that they're sick, not feeling well, having a great day, something else, what's going on, and you just know. That's the language of energy. So, yeah. It's magic.
And tell me how we can kind of like in your I'm having it focus.
Yeah.
How can we use this to our, like, how can, because we're kind of ninjas with energy then.
Yes, you are. So whatever your point of view is, that's what's going to show up in your reality. And whether it's something that's going to contribute to you or it's something that's going to kind of destroy what you're trying to create, your point of view really takes hold. So my mom and I happened to be in an optical store, and a really good example I share in my book is the woman was taking my information, and she would put her glasses on and ask me a question. Then she'd take her glasses off to type in the information and put them on. So in about 15 or 20 minutes, her glasses kept going on and off and on and off and off. I just tilted my head and looked at her like, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what is that? What are you doing? And she burst out with, I can't hear unless I have my glasses on. I'm like, really? How does that work, actually? And she proceeded to tell me that she didn't want to hear her husband's voice anymore. So she said, you know, I really don't want to hear this anymore. What's it going to take for me not to hear his voice anymore? So literally, when she takes her glasses off, she cannot hear him. And she told me how great it was that, yeah, if you ever need to do that, just take your glasses off, and I swear you won't be able to hear anybody who you don't want to listen to. I was like, okay, wait a minute. Ears and optical nerve, you know, last time I checked, they really don't go together. So it was cool. I just chuckled and said, well, that's really interesting. But how many of us have created these points of view that we've created as real and relevant in our lives that truly aren't, and they're not contributing to us? And that's what I do when I work with clients, is we go in, we delve in, and we look at all the points of view that they have that are holding them back. And it is so much fun. In fact, I had a text, Erica, before I got on, from a couple of my clients, and they said to me, you know, between all of us, we could write a book for all of our stories that we have. And I'm like, yeah, we'd have a trilogy or better.
You know, I love that, Susan. I think the thing that cracks me up the most is, like, this whole thing of, like, I'm having it, but it's not enough yet. It's like, I'm having this, but it's not that. Like, I have a good car now. I have a nice 8-seater Hockey Mom car. Last year I had a little car, and before that I had a huge car. And now I have kind of like, I have to say it's kind of perfect, but I mean, it's a beautiful car. But it's like, I still want, like, the little Porsche. Like, I love the little, I think it's a 924 Cabriolet. Like, I want one of those really bad. Also, like, I want to keep my Hockey Mom car, but I also have this, like, this Porsche 924 that I just think, you know, when I have that, oh my gosh, right? Then
yeah, I have that with a Mercedes.
What is it that we can do when we're in the space of, like, we're having this, but, like, some of the things we've been wanting haven't happened yet? What do you recommend for people going through some of that? And then next up is Carrie Sela. Yay!
Absolutely. So asking questions always empower you. Anything else that you're doing disempowers you. So anytime you come to a conclusion, have a judgment, a calculation, a computation, or anything along those lines, you are locking yourself up, because the universe, God, Allah, Buddha, Source, whoever is and leads your life and works with you, cannot give you anything but that which you've decided that you're going to have. So many people limit themselves and don't really ask for things that are, like, beyond what they can perceive, because that's all your brain. If your brain can conceive it, then you can think of it, and that's the only thing you can ask for. But, you know, the Lord and the universe, they have, like, an infinite amount of possibilities for you to receive something beyond your wildest imagination. And let me tell you, it shows up like magic when you allow that to happen. So, Erica, you were just talking about how some people are asking for things, but they're not quite showing up. Well, the universe is out there, and, you know, things just don't all of a sudden just, like, plop in your driveway or show up in your mailbox. Mm-hmm. So they're actually working with what we call the quantum entanglements in the universe. So it's this person who knows that person, who's going to see that person, who's going to get that job, who's going to quit that job, who's going to sell that car, who's going to know the sister, and they're putting all of that in place for you. So hold on to that which you're looking for and that which you're asking for, because it will arrive. It will come to you. It will show up. It will materialize. It will actualize for you. But it's what happens when we start going, flipping
Yeah.
back and forth, Erica, with, okay, well, I don't really want that, or maybe I want something else, and then you're just like, oh, stop that, okay, start this, okay, stop that, okay, start this, and then it gets really confused with what you're actually looking for.
Well, it's really been fun playing with you through the genesis of this book, and Susan is also in another book coming up on consciousness, pregnancy, and birth. So that's going to be coming out in October, and we're so glad you could come today. And thank you for all your work. Susan, why don't you also tell people about the free gifts they can have if they buy the book?
I would love to! So all of us authors are giving away something amazingly magical for everyone who purchases the book tomorrow, starting tonight after midnight, I think. So on the 16th.
Now. They can go get it now.
Or right now.
Yeah, we're opening it up. Yeah.
And you go ahead and purchase the book on Amazon, and then you submit your receipt to Erica's publishing company, and it'll come up. It'll pop up on there for you. And when you do that, we are going to send you an entire list. I mean, it is worth thousands and thousands of dollars what we're giving all of you. So each of the authors have picked something special, and mine happens to be a 3-call series on having, I love that, having it all, having money, wealth, and abundance in any economy. And there's 3 gifts and 3-call series, so that's 6 hours of magic and fun. And it's only when you buy it on that day, just tomorrow, just today, just on the 16th, you will get your package. And we also have another great free thing. All of us authors are going to get together, and we're going to do a celebration of you having it all. And you get to meet with us.
I'll put on the Google Hangout video on YouTube, I'll put a link. It'll go live about an hour after our call ends tonight.
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and put a link to it's happypublishing.net, something about where you can purchase. Thank you. I don't remember exactly. But I'll put it in that YouTube text, and also on the Google Plus text, and also on Facebook on the event page, so that you can grab your yummy gifts. And Susan was instrumental.
We can post them on our Facebook pages too.
Yeah.
And we can send them out. Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook and fromcreationtocradle.com. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
And my next guest is Carrie Sela. Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I love your story. It's a lot like your Reva's story, because you did some amazing travel that changed, well, just about everything.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's all.
Yeah. How can I change everything, right? It's like, let's not be daunted by the strength of this woman who's on the call with me right now, because, Carrie, I loved your story. Took time, travel, changed everything. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your chapter in I'm Having It?
Well, my chapter in I'm Having It is really about me being ready to make a change. And I thought that the change was going to be career related. I thought I was going to make a job change. And I planned a trip to Costa Rica after losing my brother. And that trip I felt his energy there, and Costa Rica energy was just so great for me. And that trip totally changed my life. I just couldn't go back to where I was, where I had been. I came back to the States, and everybody else was the same, and I was just totally and completely different.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I have never actually done anything. I don't think that cool, but but this summer it was funny. That makes me think of I became a mom in 2001. Adopted my first child, and then basically until this summer, which is 2015, I'd never spent more than a few days, never more than like 2 days, maybe max, traveling or being away. I had kids, and they went camping, and then I went on a trip. And so there was actually a 7-day period, and it was the longest I'd ever been. And I swear, it's hard for me to even explain how different I felt. And I know it's like nothing like what you did, which is like travel to a different country, change your whole job, change where you live, change your house, change your lifestyle, start coaching. It was kind of a phenom of being okay with making a choice for me, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially, I'm sure, as a mom.
So what can you tell people that are just kind of feeling like they want something more, but they don't know how to get to the I'm having it energy?
What I would say is there are whispers. I call it whispers of the universe. And they'll keep kind of coming around or like tugging at you in different ways. And it usually doesn't make any cognitive sense at all. That's another way that I recognize it.
If we're not getting it, we might be getting it.
Yeah. Yes, basically. And I also think that it's something just really fun. Or it is for me anyway. It's that what really lights you up. You know, what is just so fun and playful for you that keeps kind of tugging you maybe in a different direction or maybe in a similar direction, just not exactly where you thought you would be going. Right. And taking a few steps towards that, choosing it in whatever way is comfortable for you, that you start actually playing with that. Yeah. And then you start hearing the shouts, and then there's just no going back after that.
Right? Because it's been whispering and whispering.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. What do you think? Tell me about kind of your travels when you were in different countries. I think, tell us what that was like to be in Costa Rica, and tell us what it was like to kind of be in a completely different culture.
Wow. Well, I would say that for me, Costa Rica was connecting with nature and people on a completely different level than I had before. People in Costa Rica, their culture is more being with each other. And not so many, like when I was there, I didn't see so many people on their phones, right? Connected to all these different gadgets.
No, not me.
Yeah.
I can stop anytime. Anytime. I'm not addicted.
Yeah, right? I mean, you would see, like, moms walk their kids to school, and you would see the same moms every day doing that, and then they go pick them up. And it's just this very different sense of community that I hadn't experienced here in the States. And it was also, I landed in small villages that I really, really felt at home in, even though it was so very different from where I lived and the life that I lived in the States. Yeah, and I just loved it, like a lot more hiking and being outside and hanging out with friends, meeting new people. And it's really a chance for you to reinvent yourself when you're traveling, because you're oftentimes where nobody knows who you are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny. When my daughter was getting ready for high school, I said, you know, no one's going to know. You could make up a total story.
That is just so true. When you are in a brand new environment, you can become whatever you would like to be and play with it.
How fun is that?
Yeah, and it is a lot of fun.
About, tell me a little bit about Life in the Question. Tell me about how that works in your life, and maybe ask some generative questions for people to get inspired.
Okay, well, first of all, I love playing with questions. And I'm sure that for me, it's about the energy of possibility. As you start asking questions, it just opens up a space of newness. So for me, some of the questions that I really love to play with are, especially right now, what can I choose or be differently today that will create everything I desire right away? I love that one. And
I love that.
Yeah, isn't that fun? Isn't that like juicy?
Yeah.
And one of the access questions that everybody uses is the what else is possible, and that's just such a great question to go to whenever you're feeling stuck, whenever you're just like, there's no other choice for me here, there's no other possibility. And just asking that question, repeating it, like I'll do it several times, what else is possible, what else is possible, what else is possible, and kind of get out of that energy of feeling stuck.
Yeah.
Or what is possible beyond anything that I have ever imagined, that the universe is waiting to gift me, that if I were open to receiving it, I could have it right away.
Wow. I love it. And I want to tell people accessconsciousness.com has great tools, and something I also like is accessconsciousness.tv. You can actually go and watch hours and hours of interviews and presentations and shifts that help you change. And everyone on this call basically so far, not every single author in the book is an access consciousness person, but there's enough of an influence in the book where you can just go through the authors if you're curious and start asking questions. And it was so funny. I was telling my sweetheart that if he met any of my friends, they would ask questions, or they'd be asking questions, and so I started asking questions, and he was really like, his face got a little pained, and I said, oh, and you don't have to answer. He was, oh, he goes, I could do that.
Yeah, it totally takes the pressure off then. I'm sure he was like, oh my God, then what am I supposed to do with all that?
Because this book is not about telling a reader how to have it. It's about saying, what questions can you ask so that your whole world shifts? It's like, how could I know what having it would mean to Carrie? I don't know what your dreams are, but I can say to you that I've overcome some really crappy obstacles, and I'm here having it. Right? Isn't that cool? But
exactly.
I don't have to know the answer, which is so awesome. Yeah,
I love that too. It's just, it really is about the energy, the feeling in your body, really.
Yeah. So, Carrie, tell us a little bit about you. I think you have your own kind of coaching business, and tell us how people can find you.
Well, the best way to find me is, and you can also find out about me in my profile in the book, and all this information will be in there as well. And you could connect with me on Yahoo and also on Facebook. And I do have a coaching practice. I work one-on-one with clients to help them create their sweet life. I like, create what it is that really they desire more than anything, and they know that it's possible on some level, and yet there's some limitation. So clearing out the mental clutter and just going for their dreams, really stepping into the life that they would love to have. It is not just a dream. You can totally, completely have it.
I love it. Thank you so much, Carrie. Mwah!
Thanks, Erica. I've had so much fun playing.
Oh, I know. My next guest is Betsy. Hi, Betsy.
Hi. That was awesome, Carrie. Thank you.
Yeah, travel. Carrie's gonna write more about travel. I love that. You know, how much fun could we have? Wow. And you know, I have to read Betsy's first line. I swear to gosh, this is just cool. When I read this, and you know, I've been friends and working with Betsy now for quite a little while, and when she sent me her chapter, I went, oh my gosh, I'm going to actually read it. Life as a 500-pound woman was interesting. Sure was interesting. But it didn't start there. I spent many years waiting for the perfect time to quit a job I was miserable in. I put my travel desires on hold. I decided I didn't have enough money to travel. I couldn't travel in an overweight body. I refused invitations and I postponed events, and I was waiting for my body to be acceptable. And wow, right? How many countries have you been in this year? Wow, Betsy, tell us a little bit about your journey, hon.
Wow, well, thank you.
Wow.
That was like,
Thank you. That was like,
the other part that, you know, as I was writing that was, you know, thinking that I could be 95 years old and still sitting on the sideline waiting for my life to start, you know, waiting for that perfect moment. And so my chapter in the book is, you know, talks a little bit about the journey that I took to get to the point where I'm at today, and some of the road bumps I created and the obstacles I overcame, and it really was interesting to write it all down, you know, and have it from a different perspective than where I was, you know, like when I was in the mire of it all, you know.
Right, and you know, I sometimes wonder about the mire or the seduction of the, and you know, one of my books I wrote about of being pathetic. And when I say I was pathetic, obviously, like, in some ways I was never pathetic, right? I mean, there's always Erica inside of me being brilliant. But, you know, but there was a pathetic side of me that I let drive my life.
Yeah.
And so I had, actually, I mean, I can pretty much say, you know, my life was relatively pathetic for a bunch of years. You know, I'd go to the Dollar Tree and I'd have like $3 to try to feed my kids. You know, I'd be like, okay, how can I feed my 3 kids? And I'd get like noodles. I'd get red sauce for spaghetti. And then I'd have like $1 more, and I'd be like, okay, what else can I give them? And I'd try to find something else, like maybe corn. And I'd take it home and I'd try to feed 3 kids on $3. Wow. And it was like I'd sit there, and the Dollar Tree became this place that was like my how I'm gonna get by, you know. And now this is going from $125,000 a year doing philanthropic giving, and 10 years as a news reporter. After that, I made these choices that were just more and more pathetic until I had crumbled myself into like as small and tiny and wretched of an existence. As, you know, thinking maybe if I'm wretched enough, I'll start pleasing these people I've chosen to be in my life.
Wow.
You know?
And how did that work?
When I look at now and I go to the Dollar Tree and I can have anything.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's a dollar, right?
Right.
but I don't, you know, I'm like, I can have anything. And that sounds really crazy, but, you know, coming out of wretched, coming out of pathetic, it's just really interesting. Wow, like how much we can change when we're willing.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So maybe tell me a little bit about kind of, now that you've gone from being in this place of, really, you were kind of saying no to a lot of things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't say yes. You couldn't travel normally.
Yeah.
I mean, you made choices so that you could say no really easily, right?
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, between that and illnesses that I created, and yeah.
And now I just can't get enough of your energy, you know that. I just want to be around you like all the time. Like, I would love to live next door to you. I would like to wake up and say, "Hi, Betsy."
Oh my gosh. How much fun would we have?
How's your family? How's the kids? How's your sweetheart? How's your
Yeah.
I just want Betsy would be. So maybe tell us a little bit about that shift.
About the shift, you know, I got to the point where between the size of my body and the illnesses that I was almost continually creating to terrible depression, and I was like, I just, you know, if this is what my life is, I really don't want to continue living like this. And I kept hearing, there's got to be something more. There's got to be. Life, you know, after I was done buying the point of view that life was hard and life was awful and you weren't supposed to be happy, and kept asking, you know, what else could I create? What else is possible? When I decided that I was going to stay on this earth, because I did also consider suicide for a brief time, and getting to that point where, like, okay, if I'm going to stay here, something's got to change. So the journey that I got from, you know, from that really dark place to where I am today, you know, it's a lot of choices along the way. And it was a lot of baby steps, and there were some, you know, 5 steps forward and 3 steps backwards, and a lot of things that I had to overcome to get to the place where I'm at today, which is joyful and happy, and, you know, what else can we do? And let's go have fun every day, and, you know, waking up in the morning and feeling good and happy, and, you know, having it just come out of your pores and your beings, and like, what can we do today, and how much fun can we have, and what can we create? And so, you know, it's such a different person. I look at that person and I'm like, who was that? You know, yet it was me, and it was the choices that I was making. So I'm so grateful.
Questions for you, so I'm just like dying to to interview you, because you interview me, so I get to interview you.
Yes, ma'am.
So she interviews me, so I'm interviewing you. Okay, so one question, and this is really about what I've noticed with you, is you surround yourself with simply brilliant people.
Yes.
You're in the company with Sadie, with your radio show, Imperfect Brilliance. Sadie and you are fabulous together. Maybe, what's the secret? What's your secret? How do you do that? You're always just, what's your secret?
You know, I've been told that I'm magical and that I draw people in, and I embrace that now, as opposed to like having up this, you know, don't come near. Now I'm like, come on, who wants to play with me, and what can we create and generate together? Yeah. And so when you have that, you know, those, when you were talking earlier with Carrie, with, you know, like having those questions, and who else can I contribute to? Who can contribute to me? And those are the kinds of questions that I ask all the time. And amazing, phenomenal people have shown up in my life, including you. You know, like, I feel so blessed and lucky and honored to know you. And, you know, it's like sometimes I go, how did this happen? Like, you know,
and we're gonna
you know,
some crazy stuff this year. We're not done.
I know. We're just starting.
My next question for you is around the house. So Betsy has a great capacity with houses. and she
Yes.
can sell real estate. But also recently, earlier this year, she went from a condo to a house, and it was really quite magical. So I actually have been on for, I think, 2 hours without a bio break, so I'm going to let you tell the house story. I'm going to run and get a little bit of water, and I'll be back. And if you want to just tell people how you did this.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I had been living in a townhouse for many years, many years, and had the point of view for a long time that I couldn't afford anything more. And so I always thought, well, I can't do anymore. I can't do anymore. And then I realized what I was doing. I'm like, well, as long as I have the point of view that I can't afford more, that's absolutely what's going to come into my life. So I started asking questions about like what else is out there, and then I had the point of view that being self-employed as a realtor, that I wouldn't be able to qualify for a loan. So then I realized after quite a long time how I had stuck myself there. So then I started asking questions, and it's like, okay, well, maybe we could look at this a different way, and what else is possible. And the next thing you know, I found a lender who does some interesting loans that are different from the norm, and he was able to get us, my husband and I, a loan, and qualified for a single-family house. So then we started looking for a house, and it was just kind of casually looking. The house was pulling at me, and when I say pulling at me, it was really an interesting energy where I would be emptying dishes or something in my townhouse, and all of a sudden it almost would be like, knock, 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 I'm here, where are you? And it was like pulling me in. And I had started asking questions like, okay, house, if there's a house out there that desires us to live there, show yourself to me. So this house was showing itself to me, and I was still a little bit like, well, is this really the house that we want to be in? And we just started looking, and I don't really know that I can afford it. And I was throwing up some roadblocks, as we can do to ourselves. And then I was like, wait a minute, when I realized what I was doing, I thought, well, what else is possible? Maybe something else could come up here. So went back to the house a couple times, really talked to the energy of the house. The house was pulling me like crazy, and it felt so light and juicy that we were like, okay, maybe we really can do this. And then we put an offer in on the house, sold my townhouse very quickly, and did all that within a 6-week period of time. And now I'm living in this house that is so happy that we're here, and we're so happy to be here. So it was really quite magical how it all unfolded when I got out of my own way and all of my own conclusions about what was possible or not possible, and started asking the questions, and then it just like unfolded in front of me. And I was like, oh, wow, look at this.
Yeah. And we went through a couple of things. Betsy and I were friends through that whole thing of like, is it showing up the way I think it should, or is it going to do this, or is it that? And we actually used our psychic abilities and our psychic awareness together to navigate some of what was going on. And
yeah,
it was,
that was beautiful.
It was fun. It was like, oh, well, that's what that person's like.
Yeah.
And so when you're working with someone that's challenging, because sometimes in situations you're going to be working with people that are challenging, you're like, oh, well, we can trust that they're going to be like that. Mm-hmm. And then we're different in handling it, right? Because, yeah, so that was really fun, like watching, going from having the house that looks so beautiful, and really that was a shift that you had to get out of your own way a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely. Totally.
Isn't that true?
Yeah, it's like, okay, get out of the way, and what can happen? Oh, look, you can get in the house.
So, this is the book. I'm having it. You can go get it. right now, and we do have some gifts if you do. And Betsy's chapter is fabulous, and she talks a lot about having it. And I feel like you also, actually, there's something in there I'm going to have you address before Corinne, who's next.
Okay.
The whole thing of your physical being able to change. We haven't really talked about having health and changing your physicality. And do you want to just kind of share with us that, because that's a part of your chapter and a part of your story and a part of the tools that we really haven't talked about yet on this Hangout.
Sure. I lived in judgment of myself for so long for the large size that I was, and I was very, as you just mentioned, we're very psychic and was able to hear people, hear their judgments. So I took that all in and internalized it all and just held on to it. And through my journey, you know, realized, well, that wasn't working either. And I had put so much emphasis and importance on the physical being, and not who I was. So through my journey, I'm now, you know, I've done probably almost every diet out there, and I've been pretty much every size. And now I'm at the, you know, to the point where I know who I am no matter what size my body is. So for me, it was an amazing journey, and I am so happy with who I am now, no matter what the physical being is. So that was a tremendous shift for me to be able to get to that place.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today. I'm so joyful you could come. And actually, we did a great radio show, so why don't you talk about the radio show for I'm Having It? That you
Thank you.
did it a little early because the book took a little bit longer to come into our hands. So we jumped the gun just like 5 minutes because I thought for sure it was coming, but when it first came out, we were like, we're having it, maybe.
Well, you've done a tremendous job. We, like you mentioned earlier, Sadie Lake and I have a radio show on A2Zen.fm, and it's the number 2, A2Zen.fm. And we had Erica on last week, which would be, September 10th. So you can go to the archives to listen to that show. Erica is brilliant, as always, and she actually channeled a little bit of Wayne Dyer, who had just passed away. So that was really a fun addition to the show. And yeah, I encourage you to listen to the archives. There's lots and lots of great shows in there.
ImperfectBrilliance.com.
ImperfectBrilliance.com. You can also find us on Facebook, and my last name is MCLOUGHLIN. You can also email
all the time.
Access Betsy. I know. And you can email me at Access Betsy.
Oh, it's not an A, it's an O. Okay.
Right. Yeah, that's like the common misspelling of that name. But thank you so much. I adore you. Mwah. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us.
Awesome. And now we have Corinne Alisa. Hi, Corinne.
Hey, Erica. How are you?
I'm good. Corinne Alisa is a brilliant author. And Bonnie, I can see every single thing you're doing.
Oh,
I'm ADD, and so if you're going to keep doing stuff like drinking and moving your face and stuff, it's going to drive me insane. My brain can't handle it. So you have to either go no camera, come back in 8 minutes,
it's on the
or just sit there quietly because I'm so ADD.
Sorry.
I'm just looking at you, honey. I'm sorry, Bonnie. I just have to be, and especially now that Corinne's on with no video, you're going to be even more interesting.
Okay. I'm sorry, Corinne. Love you. I'm muting.
No problem,
but don't go too far because you're on in about 10 minutes. So Corinne Alisa just wrote a beautiful book called Bare Bones, and she was able to actually connect with the Spirit of Jesus, and that book is coming out really soon. In this chapter, she's been in many of my books. Corinne Alisa has just got the most beautiful spirit, and her spirit just shines everywhere. I just have to say, of all the people, I mean, I love all of you so much, but with Corinne, she's kind of like my guiding light. I would say, Corinne, you're my guiding light. like all the time.
Oh,
You know, she's
sweetheart.
like, mother, right? So why
I
don't you
love you so much.
about your chapter in I'm Having It?
Sure. Well, what I wrote about in I'm Having It is about finding the infinite you. And I know for me, when I was younger, and I didn't believe I was an infinite being, I didn't have that perspective of being something more than what my physical body showed me when I looked in the mirror. But when I did find that, when I found my infinite self, a whole range of possibilities opened up in my life. And so when I said, I'm having it, I'm having more than just what's here in front of me. I'm having more than my car and my home and my friends. I'm having a fullness of my spirit inside, which brings all of the mysteries of life alive. And when you're living in the mysteries, when you're pulling from that mysterious place of desire and passion, then you get to have whatever you want. And that's what my chapter is about, how to find that infinite you. Yep, that's me.
The infinite in you. I love it. I love it. And then it says, why apply the infinite? What does that do?
Well, when you apply the infinite, then you're able to pull that deep, deep, deep passion that comes from your soul. You're not just pulling the passion of, hear what I want today, what I want to touch, what I want to hear, what I want to see, what I want to feel. You're pulling from the passion of your soul. So whatever you came here to do on the planet, whatever you came here to have, whatever you came here to change or to be of service for, whatever your thing is that comes from your soul, that begins to permeate everything you do, everything you ask for, and that can be seen by other people, felt by other people. Your ability to attract goes through the roof when you're living and loving from your infinite self.
So much. I love it. Yeah. You know, one of the other things, Corinne, that I got present to as I was reading your chapter is you kind of walk us through kind of some step-by-steps of having more. Why don't you just do that a little bit with us now? Like, just take us a little bit through, like, a journey of having more.
Well, the first step to having more is seeing more, visioning more, I should say, not seeing, because it isn't your eyes that do it for you. It's the visioning, your ability to actually know somewhere inside yourself that there's something out there that's not in my life now, but I want it. And from that place of visioning, you can then pull yourself, well, let's see. You're pulling yourself into the vision. A lot of people think of it as, well, I'm pulling the vision to me and I'm pulling this to me and that to me. But what if it was you pulling yourself into the vision? So you see that picture, then you put yourself in the middle of it. And when you see yourself from the infinite, as I talk about in the chapter, then you have the opportunity to put all of you in that picture with you. So one of the things that a lot of people talk about in the art of attraction, they talk about, you vision it, you see it, you talk about it, you do affirmations, you do a vision board, you do whatever it is you're going to do. But not very many of them talk about the passion. The passion that needs to come up and ignite your thoughts, because your thoughts, that's what we have. We are all creators. We're creating everything that's around us, everything we do, everything we see, everything we experience, we created. Even if we gave our creative power to someone else and they created it for us, we were in absentia, still we were creating because we gave that creative power away. So when we take our creative power and we begin to mold it into that life that we want, then we have to use our passion to ignite our thoughts. Our thoughts are the basic creative force. Everything that comes in our life starts with a thought, and thoughts have life. But what passion does, passion ignites those thoughts. Passion gives those thoughts a life that is larger than just the little thought in our brain, and it has the opportunity to move into the world, take our vision with us, create for us. It's so important that we use that passion. So that's why I talk about the infinite self, because when we put that passion, pull that passion from our infinite self, from our spirit, from our soul, then it's so much greater a reward, because we're pulling from that deep place.
I love it. Thank you so much, Corinne.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm so joyful you could come. And Bonnie, can you come back now?
Thank you very much, Erica.
Oh, I am so joyful to have you in my life, Corinne Elisa. I don't even know what I would do without you. I don't know.
You. I love everything about you and what you do. Thank you, sweetie.
Well, maybe you could. Can you email or text Bonnie to come back?
Sure.
And then right after Bonnie, we have Ken Elliott, who's a magical manifester. And then what I'm going to be doing is Kathy's interview about being in paradise that we did at the beginning apparently had some recording challenges. So we are actually going to then switch and have Kathy share a little bit more. We're going to end in paradise. So how fun is that? So our next speaker is Bonnie Mashak. Welcome, Bonnie.
Well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Tell us a little bit, just jump right into kind of this having it, living, having dreams become real, and just kind of share with us kind of where you went in your chapter. I'm having it.
Well, I don't often share a lot of my personal disappointments and triumphs about my marriages, so I decided to go there because it was cleansing for me, and it was healing for me. And so I shared how my marriages ended and what happened, and then I decided that I wanted to stop making excuses for things not really working out in my life. And so that's kind of how I started it. I explained a few things that I was not happy about in my life, and then moved forward in that and made the decision to change my life, because I was in control of everything that was going on in my life. And I realized that I needed to stop blaming other people. I needed to stop wallowing in the mud, so to speak, and get up. What did I need to do? And as a counselor, how was I teaching other people to do what I was afraid to do myself, and did it successfully? So once I made those decisions, then things started shifting in my life. I met you. I published a novel, and that's when my life started to change. And I now want to show men and women who have had tragedies and shortcomings happened in their life, illness, things like that, that everything is possible if we make the decision that we're going to do it this way and make the changes that we need. So that's pretty much what I talked about.
Tell us a little bit about the dreams of Maddie Fitch.
That was kind of an awakening for me. I spoke about that a little bit in the chapter, how Maddie came to be, how the book came to be. She's a spiritual guide, an angel that has gifts and abilities to help people in the midst of crisis. And what she does it shows up at the right time. You know, a lot of times we think that we're alone, but we're really not. So Maddie showed up. She required something of me that I didn't even think I could produce, and I did. I was able to bring this young girl to life who has been able to save other lives.
Well, I love how you kind of wake up every day, Bonnie, and you say, okay, what can happen today? Because there's something about your spirit that's just really cool in that. And so thank you for being that every day. You post the coolest things on your social, and I love just kind of feeling that sense of inspiration from you. So I just want to thank you for bringing that. Every day you bring it.
Well, thank you. You know, I feel, Erica, that, you know, we've got to be that light, sometimes in a dark place for people. And even though I was in a dark place at times, I felt motivated to bring a smile to someone else's face, to bring joy to someone's heart. And maybe just, you know, one small word. You never know that one thing might change someone from wanting to commit suicide, from being in a hospital bed and, you know, being depressed, you know, just, you know, a word. And so, and because I like to talk so much, and because I'm a counselor, you know, that's what I do. Besides listen, you know, I want to, if I find something that's motivational, I want to share it because I'd want someone to share with me.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being the light that you are.
Wow.
I'm working on it now. This is 3 hours from me. When I said marathon, I was not joking with everybody.
I'm glad to be here, and I'm just so grateful for the book, and we're going to be a bestseller. And
get the book. It's awesome. It's an awesome book.
Yes,
Here.
it is.
Oh, yes, I know. I'm getting really grainy because it's getting dark in California.
Yeah, it is.
My lighting needs work. My next guest is really cool. His name's Ken Elliott, and I can't even remember how we found each other, but I feel so blessed that I did. And Ken has this gift with his chapters that I swear to gosh, I can't stop reading them. So when Ken writes in books, and you know, you can see how I keep a lot of really gorgeous women around me, but Ken is one of the few men that has snuck in to my chapters and graced us with his presence. And he's also a very talented painter, and he teaches magic with words. So Ken, I'm just going to let you just give us a little bit of how can we be having it? How can we manifest more? How can we manifest, and how easy is it?
Well, first of all, Erica, thank you for your generous, generous spirit and putting all of us together and making this big wave. It's a big job you do, and you put a lot of time and energy into this, and we all benefit. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yay!
Can you hear?
You know what? It's really bringing your ideas together and letting people be nourished by all the gifts that you are. It's just like if one person reads your chapter and their life changes. Like I basically did my job. Like I'm good. I mean, if 1,000 people change, that's great. But if one person doesn't feel as alone, or doesn't feel, or feels like just more empowered, if I can just have that one person say, you know what, I can change. If one person shifts, right, it's like, and you know, your skills, why don't you just give us a, like, when you say manifesting is easy, what does that mean?
Well, it's been a big day with the book, with the rollout of the book, so I want to invite everybody to just sit and relax for a minute. Just clear your mind, because I'm going to tell you a campfire story. I want to tell you something that you probably haven't heard before. And I like what Bonnie said. She had a lot of great points. And one of the things that came home to me as she was talking is that we are all gifted, equally endowed to breathe. And we don't have to jump up in the morning and beg for air. It's our birthright. We're all expert at breathing. And we're all expert at gravity. If you hold something up, you let it go, it goes to the ground. And there's nobody in the world better at gravity than you are. These are our gifts. We have gravity, we have air, we don't even know what we're breathing, we can't see it. And we're working off of natural laws like gravity. And people are talking about manifesting and the law of attraction and the secret. I endorse everything that everyone says because we're all doing the best possible things we can to produce a result. So I'm going to go back and say everyone is equally endowed to do this. No one is better than you. No one is worse than you. And we're manifesting all the time. Now here's the new part. Here's the thing I hope you will think about over and over and over and over and over. For 20 years, I had friends who were so gifted that I could send them things in thought, and they could see what my thoughts would do. So yes, I was making vision boards, and I was making wish lists, and talking with some of the people like William Buhlman, who's one of the leading out-of-body authors, Buhlman, and Judy Goodman, who's so incredibly gifted. She could see my thoughts streaming to her and taking form. I began to realize that if I kept touching that vision board, if I kept looking at that wish list, as people talk about, if I didn't focus on negative thoughts, then my chances of these things happening increased. And I was getting results like everyone else on the panel. And all the hundreds and hundreds of books about manifesting. There's new ones coming out every day. Here's what is not known, and now you know it. When you start to think of something, it begins to take form around you like a vapor, like a smoke. And there are people here that are so very gifted, and I'm so glad to know. Let's see, you show me a chapter, how your thoughts will create reality. We're doing that. And I'll do this in very little time. As I think it, they can see it start to form up. It looks like a wisp of smoke. And if you stay on that intention, if you keep touching that, if you keep thinking about that, and everyone has their ways of doing this, the bottom line is the more you touch it, the more it becomes solid, the more it becomes 3D. It starts to get a blush of color. It gets so super solid and so 3D that it will come over from the spirit realm into our physical world. And it can be things, it can be concepts, it can be happiness, it can be less stress, it can be the tires you need for the car, it can be the equivalent of money. Your rent goes down, you get something at a better price. You're doing this all the time. And too much to go into here, but just to recap, please, 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 please know that you don't have to beg the light switch. You don't have to petition it. You don't have to put sticky notes all around your light switch to improve your chances that the light will come on when you hit the switch.
Right.
What I'm here to gently offer is that light switch is hooked up to the power plant, and that light will come on every time. And when you think of things, they are building. And think of the things that you desire, and leave those things that worry you alone. Now that's easy to say. That's a whole other thing. That's the 1, 2, 3 of manifesting 1, 2, 3. But for now, just know that your thoughts literally build things. I have observed it for 20 years, and I even get phone calls from one of my gifted friends, Judy Goodman, judygoodman.com. She'll say, "Get ready, it's coming." And one time she called me and said, "Tomorrow something's going to happen. It's not good news." And I said, "I took care of that." She said, "No. You did not, and there's nothing to do to stop it, and get ready, it's coming in." She can see them over there, and they're so solid, so physical, they're coming in. That's how everything in this world was made. And when you look at a picture of Manhattan, it was a puff of smoke first. Billions of individual thoughts that started to come into the physical and create.
Okay, so I have a hard question for you.
Yes.
Okay. So here's the thing, if we're worried about something, we ruminate it, right? Or if I'm worried about something, I'll just won't speak for everyone in the world. I'll say if I'm worried about something like I'm worried about money, or I'm worried about I can't this or that, or I'm worried my car is too this or that, I have a worry. So now I say, okay, what do I do if I'm saying my thoughts and my point of view creates my reality? And people say, oh, it's just a point of view, it's just a change. And you're like, okay, but how do I get there? Like, what is it that I can do in my day-to-day so that I'm not like recreating the drama, that I'm saying, oh, I don't want that anymore, but then it feels like I'm still thinking about it. Do you see what I'm the conundrum I'm trying to maybe ask you about?
I have it. I'm going to recap what a lot of people have been saying today. My friends can see this in real time. So this is not speculation, but they're correct. If you want to create something, your thoughts create, period. Gravity pulls things to the ground, period. And your understanding of gravity has no effect on water rolling downhill. Gravity doesn't judge what you're going to do with gravity. It's a natural law. Your thoughts are a natural law. And your thoughts do not judge if you're going to do bad things, so-called bad things, or so-called good things with it. Your thoughts will form anything. And here's a key. If you want to amplify that, this is a weaker force. And if you want to supercharge, if you want to speed up the process, you want to amplify it, if you want to bring it more power, then you use one of the two great powers that exist to add to your thought. And it can be a good thing, it can be that worry. If you add love, if you have gratitude, if you add emotion, a positive emotion, to that positive thought, it will make the thing faster. Now, if you have a worry, you're charging it up with what? Fear.
Right.
Another great power. So I can't afford, we can't afford to have thoughts and charge them up with fear. That's the quickest, fastest way you can make anything. Charge it up with love or fear, pick one, and it will go to work for you immediately, as fast as it possibly can. The most efficient way it possibly can. So I can't afford to fear a thing and charge it up. You know, I can't afford to have a worry and charge it up with fear. Can't afford it, can't afford it. So here's what I offer. This was given to me. I wasn't bright enough to think this up on my own. I'd read a lot of this material, but it just came in one day because I was afraid. I got the perfect house, and now the bills are coming due. Oh, my God, what was I thinking? It was that moment. And so what came in was this phrase, and I didn't hear it. It was just there. Take action on those worries. Turn your worries into action items. That's the exact quote. Turn your worries into action items. What is that? What do you mean? So it's money. Worried about money. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're worried about money, and you're charging it up with fear. The bills won't get paid. Oh my gosh, I could lose where I live. Turn the electricity off. All this bad stuff can happen. You are making this problem coming to the physical as efficiently as you possibly can. This is exactly what you do if you want this bad stuff to happen. So let's take action on that. Get your smartphone, get a piece of paper, make a mental note. 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to go into work, and I'm going to I'm going to get an appointment with my boss, and I'm going to ask for a raise. Ugh, I hate that. But I'll think about how I can be of more benefit to the company. Maybe they have something else that's in the works I don't know about. I would love to be of more benefit to the company, and they have more benefit to me. In those terms, it's not so hard. All right. Number 2 on my list, bing, there goes the phone at lunch. Call some people that owe you money. Oh, if they had the money, they'd probably pay you. But I'm going to take action on this lack of money, right? I'll call them up. That won't be a hard ball. I'll just call them up. I'm going to do something rather than worry. I'm going to take action on this money thing. What else can I do? Well, I could cut a magazine subscription or 2, this and that. It's all small ball. But I'm taking action in regard to this lack of money. Now, at the end of the day, you've done all you can do. And you know what? You're probably the only person on your block that does what people are talking about here. It's in my book. You're going to go to your future, because your thoughts can make the future, and you're going to imagine that in your future, I don't have money issues. I'm just sitting on my couch in my future, and I realize in my future, I don't have financial concerns. And what? I'm so grateful. I'm going to charge that up with love. You know what? That's all you can do. Get a good night's sleep, go back at it again tomorrow. But if you catch yourself worrying and charge it with fear, you got to take action. You can't just make it go away. I can't just say forget about it. You got to do something. Let your thoughts make it
through. Erica's running out of gas, so we're going to be wrapping this up. I'm going to do a little quick re-interview with Kathy, whose Paradise story seems to have gotten on the cutting room floor somehow. So we're going to do a quick little trip to Paradise in Hawaii. It's only 4:30, so she's really lucky. And Ken, just tell us about, you have your book is coming out again. It's Manifesting 1, 2, 3, and you don't need the 3, something like that. Tell us the website, and Ken is just brilliant. You need to go get on his newsletter right now because he sends these cool stories of how this works, so you can really shift your life. So Ken, how do we find you?
Well, here's the book, and I'm going to announce it now, first time publicly on a video. It's being re-released, new cover, more descriptive forward, because this book is terribly important, so I needed to really push on the fact that you're a genie. When you think of things, they start to form up. How's that for a concept? And a few more stories. So manifesting123.com.
Okay, cool. Manifesting123.com. Go hang out with Ken. Keep finding out from him. And then get on his Facebook if you can, because he does these gorgeous paintings. So if you're in a bad mood, just go look at his artwork.
Thank you.
Keep creating, Ken. Thank you so much for coming. And Kathy, thank you for coming back.
Thank you very much. This has been great fun.
All righty, so Kathy.
Aloha.
Your hair got bigger.
It tends to do that.
I think mine got flatter.
Oh.
Wow. I'm still not, I'm cracking up because I have no evidence your interview didn't show up, but people are saying it didn't. I guess our technology was being poorly behaved, so.
What else is possible?
Yes. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your chapter and just tell us about how you chose to live in paradise.
Thank you, Erica. My chapter is called Choosing Paradise. I live on Maui, and one day when I was here on a trip, I just decided someday I'm going to live here. And, as circumstances came about, we chose it, and I love to emphasize that we chose it, my husband and I, because I hear people say, oh, you live there, you're so lucky, or oh, I wish I could live there, when honestly it was a choice. And in the book I detail how we made that choice. We created a desire list of elements that we would love to have first in a place that we live. So we wanted to live near the ocean with water that we could play in and splash around in. And so we had these discussions and conversations about what we would like to have and experience and create. And I share my list in the book. And some of the things are really specific and other things are more broad. And ultimately we actualized it. And then I always like to say, well, if your list, your list is malleable. Like when you're creating something and it's not exactly what you thought it would be or hoped it would be, you could create something different or choose different. I shared a little earlier, like 2 hours ago earlier, right? I was a ballerina. And I always had this goal, like since I was a little girl, I was going to be this sugar plum fairy, and I was going to be Juliet in Romeo and Juliet. And I got there. and I was miserable. And so it's like every choice we make just puts us, you know, it's like a rocket ship going somewhere. You can readjust, and 99 or 90% of the time they're off course, but they're just continuing to readjust. And that's what we're doing with our lives, you know, making choices every 10 seconds. And some choices are huge, like the choice to have a child or get married, and then other choices are small, like the choice to chew a piece of gum or what to have for lunch. But every choice is creating our life, and so it's like a playground. And if we can have that quality of childlikeness, is that a word? Then the whole universe, this whole planet, is a playground, and my body is like my exploratorium. You know, what can it do? How much fun can we have in every moment?
I love it. Well, thank you, Kathy, so much for coming back. This book is called I'm Having It. If you don't have it yet, well, it just came out like this week, so you probably, depending on when you're seeing this, go get this book. It's beautiful. It's called I'm Having It, and all the authors are available to play with, so go ahead and look them up. Some of the tools we use in the book are from Access Consciousness, and we're so grateful for those tools every day. So go over to accessconsciousness.com and find out more about that. And thank you so much again for coming to the Google Hangout Marathon for I'm Having It. And I encourage you all to just keep making changes in your life. And as Ken said, your thoughts become things. And, you know, we can let go of some of the programming. I love the stuff that Laura said about being in alignment with your dreams. And all of you have given me so much tonight. I'm just overwhelmed with the change that I feel going through everyone. I feel like we're going to reverberate a long time on this. So thank everyone. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.